Listen, watch, and stream at wsmn.live.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. President Trump's hand-picked U.S. attorney in Virginia is planning to ask a grand jury to indict former FBI Director James Comey for allegedly lying to Congress. That according to sources with direct knowledge of the probe. Lindsay Halligan was sworn in this week. Here's ABC's Catherine Faulders.
But the reality is that now that she is in that office and Trump has basically issued this open call to investigate political opponents, that she will attempt to seek an indictment of Comey. Now, as you know, the grand jury has to approve this and return this. It's possible the grand jury could say no.
Multiple law enforcement sources identified the suspect in the shooting at a Dallas ICE facility today as Joshua Yan. One detainee was killed, 2 others injured. ICE officials say the suspected gunman died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound and no officers were injured. The White House says President Trump will sign the TikTok deal tomorrow, aimed at keeping the China-owned sharing app from being banned in the U.S. due to national security concerns. This is ABC News. New developments in the case of a father who allegedly murdered his 3 young daughters at a Washington state campsite in May and then fled. Work still underway to identify human remains found this week.
In new court filings, the U.S. Marshals Service says Travis Decker is dead and requests a case against him be dropped and the arrest warrant be quashed. But the sheriff in Chelan County, Washington, tells ABC News it still has not been 100% confirmed the human remains found are those of Decker. They believe they are, but until they get back DNA from a human foot that was found around Decker's clothing and his possessions, they're not ending their case or dropping county charges. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Ford is issuing a recall of more than 115,000 of certain Ford Super Duty trucks from 2020 and 21. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says due to concerns that the steering column upper shaft could detach from the steering column and resulting in the loss of steering control, which raises the risk of a crash. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-859-3220. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 to 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-859-3220. That's 800-859-3220 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-859-3220. 800-859-3220.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to the Common Sense Conservatives, a political discussion group about current events and other government-related matters every Wednesday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Right here on WSMN 1590 AM, WSMN 95.3 FM, and streaming live on wsmn.live. Making sense of the inverted reality we are subject to every day, the Common Sense Conservatives are here to help bring you back to reality. Now, your hosts, Chris Wyatt, Todd McKinley, and John Grosvenor.
All right. Hey, folks, welcome back to the Common Sense Conservative. It is Wednesday night here on WSMN. It is the Common Sense Conservative, joined by my co-host, John Grosvenor, holds down the studio there in Nashua, New Hampshire. John, how are you tonight?
I am doing well, Todd. We got an ambulance passing by me, but as long as I got the microphone, I figured I'd go ahead and get it out of the way. We did have, since you'll ask, earlier last week, 23-year-old kid decided it was a good idea to announce to his roommate that he was going to use weapons of mass destruction against the governor of New Hampshire. They did apprehend him for that one. He was proving evidence and everything, showing photos and everything on his Instagram to his friend. Not too bright, I don't think, but at least his stupidity got him caught. That's what's important there. And then, of course, everybody here in Nashua probably knows that the country club was assaulted. One life lost and two injured. Apparently this assailant, 23 years of age, decided that he was going to attack an employee with a gun and announce Free Palestine among it all. I guess when you're going to do stupid things, that's the war cry of the season right now.
Yeah, sounds like it. I mean, a little bit ridiculous. I guess you throw people off your scent of how stupid you are if you say free Palestine, right? They stop looking at how stupid you are. They're like, oh, it must be just a radical. I don't know.
I think it
Cur-
was to my understanding that he was trying to just throw a lot of noise out there to confuse people, so
yeah,
he can do what
I
he was
imagine.
doing.
Yeah, muddle the investigation. I'm sure.
One of the guys hit him with a chair. That was great. I think they knocked the gun out of his hand and then he fled. So somebody picks up a chair and hits him with it. It's like, no, not today, bro. You already got one of us. You're not getting no more.
Good deal. Yeah. So
That's Brandon
Colonel Chris
Staver.
Wyatt there. He's in. Where are you at? You're in Utah. Is that right? For a
I know I am in the gem state of Idaho. I'm in Haley,
Idaho. Yeah.
Idaho, in Sun Valley tonight. Tomorrow I'll be at the Craters of the Moon, then heading down to Twin Falls, where I'll be filming a documentary with the South African Television Network, meeting with some refugees from South Africa, and I'll be linking up with Billy Painter sometime over the next couple of days.
Oh, there you go. So, can you anything you can tell us about the documentary, or is it just kind of whatever they want to cover?
No, it's not whatever I want to cover. It's specifically focused about the diaspora of the Afrikaner people who left South Africa, and there are a lot of South Africans who are living abroad because they can't survive in South Africa because of racism, bigotry, and laws against them, and the violence that's there. It's pretty horrific. So a lot of South Africans, if they have the ability, have been leaving South Africa for some time. It's been going on since 1994. The pace really picked up in the last decade, and a few million South Africans live abroad. It's a pretty significant number. And so, yeah, as I understand it, this is what they told me. I'm not being braggadocious, but the folks contacted me out of the blue. Was a rather well-known television personality from South Africa and wrote to me personally and said, "Hey, Colonel Wyatt, we're doing a documentary and we'd like you to participate in this." And I said, "Okay, what's it all about? Where do you want to do this? When I come back to South Africa, or do I need to? Are you coming to the States?" Told me about it, and he said he's coming over here. And they asked me to come up to Idaho. They could have interviewed me elsewhere, but I'm glad they asked me to come here because I get to knock out a lot of stuff. Turns out I know everybody in Idaho apparently, because on my stream earlier, those ladies like, I live in Boise. I'm like, I just left Boise. I landed there at 12 and just left. I didn't know you lived there. And then of course, Billy Painter, and then some refugees over here, plus one of my viewers in Salt Lake. I'm going down there. But they asked me to come over, and yeah, they paid for my flight, which is nice. So I picked up the rest of the stuff, which is, it's nice out here. The leaves are starting to change already. Fall is upon us, and I'm sure we'll see some snow in the higher elevations while I'm out here. One of the cool things happened today is when I have flown into Jackson Hole, and when you come into Jackson Hole, you do a turn, and you see the Grand Tetons at an oblique level as you're flying in. I've never flown over the Grand Teton Mountains until today. I've flown north going to Washington and Vancouver, and I've flown south many times and over Colorado and such, but I've never flown over the Grand Tetons. Today, I've got beautiful photographs of the Grand Teton Mountains, Poulter Bay. You can see Yellowstone off to the north. It's incredible. But yeah, so I'm here to do that, and I'm going to spend the week doing some other work for my channel and my program, and so it should go very well. I'm looking forward to it. But next week I'll be back in Idaho. In between the time, I'll head to Utah, then Wyoming, Montana, and then back in Idaho. So when I come back on the show next week, I'll be once again in Idaho, but from the Gem State. That's where I'm at.
There you go. Getting around. I mean, you're over in England, jolly old England. So how did the World Cup rugby go? Women's Rugby World Cup. How did that go? Who won? And what should we be looking for the next time around for Team USA? Any luck there?
Well, Team USA just missed out on advancing to the knockout round on point differential because they were blown out in their first game. If they'd kept the score margin better, they could advance and make the playoffs, but they didn't make the playoffs. Nonetheless, they still performed pretty well in the end. They got a tie with Australia, and then they beat Tonga up pretty well and just missed out going in. But it's not over yet. Saturday is the final, and the final will be Canada versus England, which is a rematch of the 2014 Women's World Cup, which was held in Paris at the Stade Jean-Bouin. I was actually there at that World Cup. That's when Magli Harvey used to play for Canada. She was amazing. England won that World Cup, and Canada has never won it. So they have a chance, and I think that they can actually win it. They're very good. England, of course, is the best team in the world, but Canada's number 2, and they perform very well. So it's Saturday, and so that's still going on. But that's the last game, and I was there for the quarterfinals.
Interesting. Yeah. So John, you were talking about a minute ago about somebody threatening to use weapons of mass destruction against their governor, or against the governor there. What kind of weapons were they talking about? Was it just like a bomb, pipe bomb, or what are they talking about?
He had ideas that he's going to create some homemade pipe bombs. He bought a bunch of screws and bolts and stuff, and had some sort of from my understanding, it was metal tube, so it wasn't typical pipe bombs, right? From the 1980s was just PVC pipe with caps and a detonator, right? So that it would go off. But yeah, they I don't know what he was constructing exactly, but he had some sort of concoction in mind.
Are you sure about that? I mean, you did say weapons of mass destruction. Are you sure that wasn't just Democratic legislation? That's usually weapon of mass destruction.
Right.
They can be pretty destructive, especially draining the pockets of taxpayers.
Indeed. Or having girls molested in restrooms. Yep.
Right. Yeah. And then have the parents arrested whenever they come and speak out at a school board meeting.
Hey, Todd. So, yeah, exactly. So I went through Chicago's O'Hare on my way here because I came from nowhere and I went to nowhere, both places in the middle of nowhere. Interesting thing. It seems like every time I go through O'Hare Airport, probably because I'm alert, I see someone famous. Everybody goes through there.
Right.
The last trip I went through there, out walks Mike Tyson. And I'm like, hey, Mike, hey, how you doing, Carolyn? We took a picture. Today, I walked out of the plane and I saw 3 police officers, 2 next to a gentleman, an older gentleman wearing a ball cap, and another one over by McDonald's. And the older gentleman walked to McDonald's like, that's frickin' Mike Pence. I went to the bathroom. I came out. He got his order from McDonald's. So I walked across the 2 cops over there and I said, can you imagine that? Being the vice president of the United States, the only person that recognizes you as a veteran. Nobody knew he was there. You see the picture. Nobody's even paying. And never mind. So I was talking to them. He came over to the other cops while I was talking to him, and I greeted him, and he greeted me. And the cops like, "Hey, sir, this is a counterintelligence officer. It's Colonel Wyatt." And he's like, "Really?" And we talked for like 5 minutes, and the vice president gave me his coin.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there you go. I've got the very same one. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got the signature on the back. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just thought I'd share with you because I know that you're close to the halls of power. I haven't been that close to the halls of power in some time. The last time was when I was writing for the president, but that you don't actually see the president. You go over to Langley for that.
Right.
But yes, the previous time was actually, no, that's not, that was before that. I'm sorry. The last time I saw was Bush in Liberia. He came up and we talked, and the Secret Service is freaking out.
Well, that is cool. You just run into Mike Pence, just getting something at McDonald's at an O'Hare. Whenever he was vice president just a few years ago, he'd be landing on Air Force Two on a tarmac somewhere.
Exactly. And
now he's just like you and I.
I've also confirmed the mystery. It's not just Donald Trump that loves McDonald's. Apparently, it's Mike Pence too.
There you go.
Yeah, he picked up some habits for Trump.
Well, anyway, I mean, I know not everybody likes him, but because of January 6th, but I don't think people understand what he's able to do on January 6th. So I don't like what he's done since then and what he's been saying about the president recently. That's uncalled for. But his service up through that time in his first term was honorable when he was the governor of Indiana, when he was a congressman. So it's still pretty cool. And I mean, this is what these mean, Todd.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Well, and also the other cool thing about it too is because if I told people, it'd be like, so I ran into Mike Pence at Chicago Airport. No, you did. You liar. You're lying, man. You're lying.
You lied.
He bought it. He bought it at a souvenir shop.
Yeah, right.
Oh, no. And I just pull out challenge going.
I know you can't get them there.
That would probably run you online probably about $60-$70, depending on where you get it from. Maybe $100 online.
Well, it's not going anywhere.
No, I get that.
You brought up Mike Pence on that, and the thing about it is he's kind of probably has a little bit of animosity because when Donald Trump told him he could do things he rightfully can't do during during the voting counts,
right?
He really kind of threw Mike Pence under the bus, and really Mike Pence was right in what he said, and so it's kind of like he almost destroyed his opportunities to ever be president or run for election because he's turned so many people against him.
Well, but Pence hasn't helped himself lately. Vice President Pence has been saying about a lot of stupid stuff about the president, in my view, and it hasn't helped his situation. And I get it's probably out of bitterness, but he should have just took the high road, which he's done in the past. He should have just took the high road. So, but you're right. The president threw him under the bus, and the president's supporters would be angry at us right now if we're defending Pence, and we're not defending Pence. We're just telling the truth. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. And here's the thing. You have a lot of people who are Trump supporters that if you told the truth about January 6th, it doesn't matter how factual or how easily it is that they could do the research through a simple Google search. They're not going to do that. They're going to say, well, President Trump said X, Y, and Z, so therefore that's the truth. That's the facts. And they're not going to research anything. So you're a terrible liar for the defending truth and what's reality, with some of these people.
I often tell it and say it on this show too. Always question authority, no matter who it is. If it's Donald
Absolutely.
Trump and you love Donald Trump to death, doesn't matter. Question him. That's part of critical thinking. Question what he's doing. Question his motives.
Yeah.
Have some critical thinking about it. You'll probably come to some conclusions that, oh, he's doing okay. But still, at the same time, you never know what people's agenda are. They're hidden agendas and stuff. You just never know. Even if it is Donald Trump, you still got to question.
Right.
Well,
As we should.
I took it from the left and right because I stuck to the truth. The left didn't like the truth. The right didn't like the truth. So I don't know what to tell people, but that's just the reality. They get over themselves. One of my viewers is in the chat and saying that they're at a higher elevation than me up there in Alberta in Canada. Well, unless you are at 5,323 feet, you are not at a higher elevation than me. You misunderstood or didn't hear. I'm not in Boise. I was in Boise. I am now in Haley, Idaho, 5,322 feet above sea level. So you might be higher than me, but you'd have to be in the Rockies up in the mountains for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's pretty good high. That's pretty high right there. And considering east of the Mississippi, the highest elevation is like 6,100 and some odd feet, which is really not that high compared to the Rockies. But that's all we got here east of the Mississippi.
You hear him pull out a bong, but you hear the bubbling sounds of a bong as he goes, no, dude, you don't understand. I'm higher than you.
Oh, no. He's higher than you. Okay.
License and registration, please. It's on the back.
Is it on the, it's on the back, right?
It's your license on the back of the car, man.
they were parked in the median. I love that. Cheech and Chong.
That was great. Up in Smoke. What a great movie. Yikes.
Yep.
Never once done an illicit drug, but I still laughed at that thing.
Right. Well, absolutely. So we haven't been on the air obviously since last week. Charlie Kirk's funeral, memorial service, etc. Well attended by a lot of people. Did you get a chance to glimpse that, Colonel or John?
I did not watch it at all. I did listen for a bit. I was in the car. I was turned off by it. People are praising it, but it seems to me not just that specifically, but there was a lot of good stuff said there. But it sure seems to me, if you look at social media, content creators in particular, a lot of people are grotesquely milking Charlie Kirk's assassination for their own profit, benefit, notoriety, fame, likes, and so on. And I just find it stomach turning. And some of my viewers get pissed off because they don't listen. I didn't say anything bad about Charlie Kirk.
Right.
I didn't say good about Charlie Kirk. I said I think it's this cult of worship, which isn't even genuine for many of these people. It's just for their personal grandness.
Right.
And that's what I find off-putting. But there was some, I guess his widow said some pretty amazing things. President Trump had some nice things to say. Tucker Carlson took a lot of flack, but I heard part of Tucker Carlson. He seemed fine to me. Susie Wiles, I caught. Miller's. Anyway, that one didn't do anything for me. But yeah, I didn't watch any of that stuff. I mean, I don't need to. It's not for me. I know some people really want to, but it was pretty amazing. Was it Arizona State University in Tempe? They had 70,000 in the stadium. Then they had an overflow area, another 30,000 or 40,000 people there. It's pretty crazy.
Right. Yeah. And I've been witnessing that too. A lot of people that are just trying to, self-aggrandizement, make a name for themselves. We have some local politicians here in Northeast Tennessee, my home county, that are trying to do the same thing. It's like all of a sudden, out of the blue, they jumped on the Charlie Kirk bandwagon. These are people that don't know much about the law, legislation, or the position that they hold for the most part. But now that all of a sudden they see an opportunity to snow people. The fact that they haven't been doing their job since they've been elected, now they want to get themselves in the newspaper to make it seem as if they're doing something for the people, which in reality is they're just self-promoting.
Could you imagine how much more reach he would have had if he'd had this fan base behind him then? Right. Now they're there. Now they're there trying to capitalize off this circumstance. Sure. You're right. That's pretty crappy. And flip that coin over, because I don't get on Facebook or social media much anymore. I keep trying to flip through and I open it up. And what I keep seeing is these morbid conspiracy theories.
Oh, God,
he was shot from behind, or his security detail was involved. I am so sick and tired of stupidity. I just don't even want to open up social media anymore.
Right. Yeah. The secret arm signals, the hand signals, and all this stuff. And I'm like, none of it's true.
The thing about this, guys, is that so I had somebody challenge me on my program, and they said, "But you're talking about Charlie Kirk." I said, "No, I'm reporting newsworthy items about the person being detained, about the trial, about the events unfolding. I'm not going on and spending hours talking. I'm not talking about my faith and my love of Charlie.
You're talking about the facts of a murder, of assassination.
I'm talking about a newsworthy event, and I'm not spending a lot of time dwelling on it because I'm reporting the news and analyzing it. But also I'm consistent. I'm clear about this. I didn't like Charlie Kirk personally. Because of this focus with Turning Point, they just ignored people over the age of 30, and I found that quite off-putting. And when I contacted them years ago when it started, and I was trying to help, they weren't interested. Basically, told me to hit the road because I was too old. And basically, my answer to that is, well, you should watch Logan's Run.
Yeah.
And you're all going to be old one day, or you're going to be
Right.
dead. Take your choice. But anyway, so no, but I've been consistent. So someone tried to call me out, and so I did a tribute song to Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
We
We heard
played
that
that
last
last
week.
week.
Good,
Yeah,
good song.
Charlie Stands On. And that was not out of a cult of love for Charlie. It was because it's such a seminal moment. His organization co-founded is called Turning Point USA. 2025, because of three events. The Butler assassination attempt, in which they actually shot Trump in the head, started it. Never mind the Florida, the amateur operation there. The guy's on trial now. But the Butler assassination attempt in 2024, Trump sworn in as president in 2025, and now Charlie Kirk's assassination. This is America's turning point. We are restoring this nation, and we shall do it. Did you guys catch Trump at the UN? Oh my goodness, it was on fire.
Yeah, this is what I was wanting you to get into here in a second, break it down. But last point on Charlie Kirk, if you don't mind. All the people that are just now waking up to the politics and what's going on in our society, on campus, whatever. Welcome to the club. I'm glad you're awake, but don't allow yourself to be co-opted by those that are just trying to snow you and make a name for themselves politically. Be aware that there are those people that are out there. So just bear that in mind as we move forward. But go ahead, Colonel. Break down the president's Trump speech at the UN.
Okay, well, I'll hit some high points, which I think many of our viewers probably watched. I watched it live. I mean, I didn't know he was going to be speaking that hour, but I was prepping for my show. Trump's live. Okay, well, I went there. It's incredible. So basically, he said, "You're all suckers.
Yeah.
Your countries are going to hell." He kept going on China. China kept taking the camera and panning the Chinese diplomats. It's China doing this. China's the biggest polluter. He told the truth. China produces more pollution than the rest of the developed world combined.
True.
China's the world's largest polluter. China's building 350 coal-fired power plants every year. These are all facts that no one wants to listen to. And now the president of the United States has said them, not just me on my program. So I'm pretty excited about it. But he said the green energy is the biggest scam ever. It was so good. It was so funny to see a national leader says, and then. Well, this is the funny stuff. He beat up on Brazil. He said, "Brazil, oh, what a mess, Brazil. Yeah, we're giving sanctions. We're going after them." But the funny thing, I met the president because the escalator didn't work, and
yeah,
we talked for about 45 seconds, and I think we got something going there. He didn't say it, but he basically, I think we got a bromance going. He said, "So maybe we'll work something out with Brazil." But and then it was one of the funny moments. People actually laughed. He said, "What's the purpose of you?" And I come here, and all I get's a broken escalator and a broken teleprompter. When Trump was done, the lady that runs the hall, she announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, delegates, I want to assure you the teleprompter is functioning properly."
Right.
After Trump said it wasn't working, but I think he meant a previous time. But he asked, "What's the purpose of you?" Now, he embellished a bit on some things. He's like, "I ended 7 wars." Didn't really end 7 wars, but he's had more success than anyone else ever has at ending conflicts. And it was absolutely brilliant. But he spent a lot of time hammering sovereignty and criminal alien invasion, and he talked about the consequences of women and children being sexually assaulted and murdered, coming through coyotes, coming up in these caravans, and the same thing in Europe, boats sinking with these illegal migrants. There's a consequence to this. And he talked, and what I love about this, he says, your countries are going to hell. Your heritage is being destroyed, and you don't seem to care about it. Why don't you care?
Right.
It was incredible. And so I love how the New York Slimes and the Washington Compost took the time to fact check Trump on his UN speech, but they never fact checked Joe Biden on anything.
No.
Nothing Joe Biden said was ever true. Not a single thing he ever said. So I guess that's why they didn't fact check him, because they just knew he was lying. But of course, and so I saw fact checking today about Trump and Kennedy talking about Tylenol, acetaminophen, and
acetaminophen, yeah.
And they fact check him, and then they admit that Trump is partially correct, but they've lambasted him because he's wrong. Well, he's not wrong. There's a difference of opinion. There is evidence to support what he said. I don't necessarily agree with what he said, but that really isn't germane. Don't fact check him and call him a liar. And the same thing in the UN. The New York Slimes came up with an article immediately saying that all his stuff is unproven, untrue. No, it's not. Many of the things that Trump stated, I can give you the evidence, show you the proof of. For instance, China being the world's biggest polluter. They overtook the U.S. well over a decade ago, and they're just soaring past us because they
Right.
keep building coal-fired power plants, and they're destroying their environment. So anyway, it's Trump was awesome. There were a few spots that lagged a little bit. He's like, I don't want to be braggadocious, but I'm going to be braggadocious. But that's that's classic Trump. I thought it was an awesome speech, and I really loved how he actually called for the world to unite and said, countries want to work with us to go forward for peace, we'll do it. He also said we can never allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. That was brilliant. He said it. He said it. Presidents don't say that sort of thing. It needs to be said. Trump is the devil we know, and I think a lot of us love him.
No, absolutely. And of course, the Dems are going to, battle him all the way to the end. Now, do you think there's going to be a government shutdown? And if so, how much blame is going to come toward the Republicans and Trump? Even though he's extended every olive branch to the Democrats and said, "Hey, I'll meet you more than halfway on all this stuff."
Well, I'll confess, I'm a little confused. What was the big beautiful bill? I thought that was the budget for 2025, 2026
Yeah,
fiscal
I
year.
did too. I did too. I don't know
Apparently, it
what the heck.
wasn't.
Yeah.
So why did it have to be passed by July 4th? I mean, if it wasn't the
Trump,
budget? So
Trump
we're waiting
wanted
for the
to
budget.
he wanted to sign it for Independence Day. That's what that was about. He thought it was
Okay,
kind
but
of symbolic.
well, I mean, I thought we were getting a budget. So I mean, it's the
We
Democrats.
did have some budgetary spending
Yeah.
allowances in there, right, for
Yeah,
space
but I mean,
exploration and a
yeah,
few
but
other nonsensical. There's things in there we don't even know about. I think there's some stuff in there for medical care too, or
well,
I don't
who's read
recall.
the damn thing? These things are usually
It's
1,200 pages
huge.
long. So
I didn't touch it.
yeah, no, it's no, but I mean, I think we'll get a continuing resolution. Schumer will cave. The
Yeah.
Democrats are on their last legs, and they can try to play brinkmanship, but they're just going to look stupid, and we'll see how it goes. But
We-
the Republicans had better not cave and give them 1.1 trillion in new spending. That's just going to wipe out everything that came in the big beautiful bill and put us
Right.
in trouble. We're actually on the front foot. We actually had more revenue came into the federal government than went out for the first time in like 3 years, 2 months in a row, because of the tariffs. So we're taking more money and we're spending at the moment, which is pretty incredible. And that's how things should be, to start paying down that debt.
The
But
problem is they don't balance a budget. They just keep doing continuing resolutions, and until they get themselves into check, they're going to start spending that money too.
well, that's the point. That's what the Democrats want to do. They want to spend the money that's come in with money that's not there. So the Republicans have to hold the line, and they just cannot. I mean, if we don't get a continuing resolution, then the government shuts down. We can blame the Democrats, just like they blame the Republicans when they shut it down before. But the press, of course, will blame Trump. But you know what? I think a lot of people are just too wise to that. They know better. Trump is not
Yeah.
the problem. Trump
Yeah.
is not the problem. Washington is the problem.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. So here's one out of the Pentagon. Pentagon seeks Trump approval for first U.S. military execution in 60 years following Fort mass shooting. And it says for Nadal Hassan, who killed 30 people in
So
2009. It looks like they're going to seek the death penalty, according to Fox News. And I'd say, hey, bring it on. Welcome.
is there any chance we can have him tortured instead?
Right. Yeah. Have slowly spit roasted or something. Right.
Something like that. Have his drawn and quartered. Have his entrails removed, a la William Wallace. Yeah,
Right.
no, that guy definitely deserves a death penalty. So it's time.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I mean, you got to think about this. This guy was a threat from the inside, for crying out loud. I mean, he should have been dead a long time ago.
Well, it's all part of our, diversity makes us stronger. BS.
Sure.
All
Yeah.
nonsense. Because diversity isn't different faiths, it isn't different skin colors, it isn't different ethnicities. That's not diversity. That's fake diversity. Diversity is diversity of experience, diversity of character, so that you bring something to the table. Just
Right.
because you're brown or black or white doesn't mean you make things stronger or better. In fact, it usually makes things more divisive because people can't get along because they're clannish. Human beings by nature are clannish. That's how we survived on the Serengeti. When the lions and the cheetahs were coming, we banded together. And when the
Right.
other group came to try to steal our women, beat them over the head, we beat those guys over the head. And people tend to form small nuclear groups, smaller. You notice we have lots of identities. I mean, first off, I'm a human being. Then I'm an American. Then I'm from this state. Then I'm this, and this. Some people put their
Right.
Christianity up here. Some people put their Islam faith up here. But we have so many different identities, and we're like Russian nesting dolls. And people
Right.
don't even realize that. They just think, well, I'm this. No, you're a lot more than that. And the way you live your life, you associate, you go to church with certain people. Well, that's what you are. You're Methodist, or you're Presbyterian, or you're Catholic, or you're Jewish, or whatever. That's part of what you are. And that's part of one of your identities. And another identity is maybe you're a volunteer that works with, does all these other things. Then maybe you're a Republican, maybe you're a Democrat. People have lots of identities, like I say, like Russian nesting dolls. And I think people don't realize that. And we tend to continually break ourselves off into smaller groups,
Right.
and we support this, we support that. Sometimes they're not mutually agreeable. So it's life. And the left can't handle life.
Part of being a melting pot, right? I mean, we look at Nashua over here. We used to have French Hill and Crown Hill, and you had different people settling. Obviously, French Hill where French people settled. Now it's mostly Spanish, but they still settle in cliques.
Yeah. Yeah, people like the familiar and like-minded. It's easy, it's simple. You don't have to. The learning curve's not there. You pretty much know what to expect with people that are similar to you, I guess.
People like what's familiar.
But if you want to have a fraternity and it's black only, you're okay. But if you want to have a whites only fraternity, well, then you're racist.
Yep.
If you want to have a neighborhood that's only certain people can live there, it's okay. But if you have a neighborhood where only certain people can live, it's not okay. The double standard's ridiculous. Again, people gravitate to the familiar, to the same. And as I said, it's how we survived, as a species. Otherwise, it's like, the story I talk about all the time, guys. So sociologists have done this. You have 4 young black men standing on a street corner with, the kind of the guys hang with their pants hanging halfway down their butt crack. And they're standing there in a semicircle with stuff in their hands doing something. And you have these school kids walk up and they stop and they see them across the street. So they go this way and that way. And they go around them out of their way to avoid encountering them. And of course, the immediate response from the typical crowd is racist because they're black.
No.
But when a group of black kids, school kids, sees the same thing and does the exact same thing,
right,
that's just good judgment. It's human nature to avoid danger. Otherwise, oh, look at the kitty cat here, kitty. Oh, saber-tooth cat took your head off.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
It's inherent. It's the fight or flight mechanism. It's and those who don't have good judgment are consigned, to wind up, they're gone. I mean, that's the what is it? The Darwin
Yeah.
the Darwin Awards. Yeah.
Well, but you have the idiots out near where you're at right now. Yellowstone, right? With the buffalo. People try to take picture with a bison, and it kills you by kicking you or headbutting you. Not even trying to kill you. It weighs thousands of pounds. It could kill you in a second.
Any of the videos I've seen, people got it with the horns, and they didn't go up over the bison. They were up way in the air. Yeah,
I get it. They look cute and everything. Even bears look cute, but even like a smaller black bear can cut your head off. I mean, these are razor sharp claws that are many times powerful than a human being. They can just slice you like that, and you're done.
And we seen a lion tamer or a tiger tamer. Remember that many years ago?
Siegfried
right there on stage. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we saw Steve Irwin die from a stingray stabbing him right in the heart.
Right.
It's the hubris of human beings, and I think part of it's because so many people in an urban era are detached from nature. They don't understand the harm. It's like the same sort of people. Oh, I'll just drive through that flooded street. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, look at them floating down the river. They're dead.
Yep.
You got to have better judgment than that. You got to understand physics. You got to understand reality. I've several times I've run into danger from wildlife in Tanzania. I drove in a park and I was in a vehicle, and I came upon an elephant, and she turned her head, and I saw her calf, and I just stopped. You don't mess with an elephant when they've got a calf. And so I found a way to extricate myself, but her ears came out like this, and she started waving them. I'm like, okay, time to get out of here. Quietly backed out, said, didn't encroach on her. And Yellowstone, same sort of thing. 2 incidents in Yellowstone. Drive along the road where the bison come up and they're crossing the road, and you just slow down. You don't antagonize it. You don't put your windows down. It's like, don't feed the monkeys, don't feed the baboons, that sort of thing.
Right.
And then you just move on. But they get close and they're huge, man. They'll flip over a small car easily.
Yeah.
They'll do some serious damage to your car. And then I was out walking in Yellowstone, and I came around this little spot, and there was a moose. And she turned her head and looked at me, and she had a calf, and I froze. And she's like,
yep.
look at me. I'm like, this isn't Rocky and Bullwinkle. I'm gonna chill. And then she went back to eating and watching her calf, and extricated myself.
And
You
there's
can't mess with nature.
Chris laying on the horn. Move, you move. Worst thing you could do, right? If it's a bull, the worst thing you do is start laying on the horn.
Yeah. So people they take this stuff too lightly, and there's a penalty for it. There's a penalty for it.
Oh,
Somebody
absolutely.
says
Yeah.
bison aren't that impressive. Yeah, you've never. Then obviously you haven't dealt with them. They're pretty impressive creatures. I'm so glad that they didn't go extinct. Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. More people are killed by the grass eaters than there are the meat eaters every year. They get too close.
Well, do you know what
Cows,
the most dangerous animal in Africa is? Want to take a guess? It's not a lion.
hippo.
Yeah. Oh, dang it! You knew that.
Yeah, well, I love hippos, man. They're so cute, like the small ones. But you definitely don't want to go up to them, man, because they could just crush you, eat you,
Yeah,
whatever.
you don't have to go up to them. Just be in the water. They can
Oh
walk up
man,
underneath you. You're done. Yeah.
yeah,
Do
absolutely.
you know that I think the best name for them, because of course that comes from Latin, the Germans, what they call, do you know what the Germans call a hippo?
What's
No.
that?
A Flusspferd, which literally means a river horse.
Yeah, there you go.
Pretty
But
cool.
it's funny is
Eh.
they show up to the watering holes. The lions, they don't mess with them, and the crocodiles are like, we can't do anything with these things. Let's just leave them alone. Swim away.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say it's great when you see a hippo just walking through the crocodiles, like kicking them and stuff.
Yeah,
The
get
crocodiles
out
are
of my
trying to
way.
maneuver around them. They're like, oh, don't mess with that one.
So I mean, if you've come across hippopotamus in Africa, you gotta be careful. In southern Africa, in particular, you have Cape buffalo. That's also very dangerous. That's the two that kill the most people every year: hippopotami, and then Cape buffalo. And then the third most dangerous creature in Africa is the ANC,
It was a
African
African National
Congress.
Congress.
Oh.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you got to watch out for those ANC cadres because they're dangerous, man. So hippopotami, Cape buffalo, and ANC politicians. Just stay away from all of them. They're all
But
bad news.
it's funny. All kidding aside, there is still a lot of genocide and stuff in Africa, isn't there? There's still a lot of they get kind of tribal and they'll oppose one another and kill each other off.
Well, I mean, we haven't had a genocide as such in some time, although we had something that kind of approached genocide in Tigray recently when Tigray and Ethiopia went to war, even though Tigray is part of Ethiopia. But the people that used to run the country for decades were Tigrayans. They had total control, then they lost control, and then a war started. And the Ethiopian army executed thousands of, Tigrayan conscripts and villagers in what arguably was a campaign of genocide. You could also argue that in Darfur we've had one too, and one's ongoing right now. But the last big one that we can talk about that we genuinely is genocide was in Rwanda in 1994. And that wasn't the first time it happened. Burundi had happened twice in the 20th century, and in Rwanda it also happened twice in the 20th century. But that one,
You still got the micro, right? You still got people that they still do machete murders and stuff like that over there. They see people that they don't like and will
I mean,
literally
that's just horrific violence, not necessarily an orchestrated campaign to wipe out a people. But we have genocides going on in China with the Uyghurs, the Muslims who are being organ harvested from live, prisoners who've committed no crimes. We also get the Falun Gong. They're using them to, they're trying to wipe them out. And then in Myanmar, we've got the Rohingya Muslims who are actively being hunted down and murdered by the regime there. So the world looks the other way, navel gazes while these things happen. So there is some genocide taking place or efforts at genocide around the world.
I think that was the migrants going into the European countries, wasn't it? Out of Africa, they were trying to escape from religious persecution.
Most of the African migrants, the criminal alien invaders, are simply trying to find money and work. It's not about there. There are some legitimate ones, but most Africans that are fleeing violence are refugees, and they live in a third country or a second country. So, for instance, the world's largest refugee camp is located in Kenya. Want to guess how many people live in it? Just take a guess. How many thousands of people live in this camp? It's been around for 30 years, by the way.
I don't know, 40, 50,000.
650,000 refugees live in one camp, and they've been living there for 30 years. Many of them were born there.
Wow.
That's just one camp, and there's Somalis who are afraid to go back to Somalia. And then we've got refugees living in Uganda from South Sudan, and we've got refugees from Darfur living in Chad, and the list goes on and on. There are 25 million registered refugees with the United Nations currently around the world. That's refugees. There are tens of millions of more internally displaced persons. Of course, the distinction being that a refugee crosses a border and leaves the country where they were being targeted, whereas an internally displaced person flees because of conflict, still is in the country that they're from. And so you've got a mess. I mean, if you look at, for instance, Mozambique, there are at least 1.2 million internally displaced persons. Some say up to 3 million because the conflict in Cabo Delgado province in the northeastern part of the country. this stuff happens, and most of the world is ignorant of it or completely ignores it. And what I have to say is that, getting on a plane this morning in Harrisburg, perfectly safe and fine.
Right.
TSA doing their job, checking people, things went smoothly. Airport functioned well, air traffic control, got on a functioning plane, flew from there to Chicago, same thing. I run into the former vice president, he's
Yep.
just a regular Joe there. I get on a plane and I fly over the Rocky Mountains to Boise, Idaho, and I get in the car. They hand me the keys to a vehicle. It works perfectly fine. I drive down the road. There's a rest stop. I stop there, get something to eat, and I'm on my way and safe. And, and the roads are being fixed. And what a blessing to be an American. The grass is green. I got a new song for you guys too. I did a song called "The Grass Is Greener in America," so maybe I'll send that to you guys. Can we play
All
that?
right. Yeah.
I could probably send it to John tonight. Email. He might play it tonight.
Get it on the air. Why not? Let's see. Maybe every week we'll have a show from Colonel Chris Wyatt. A showcase or something. I don't know.
This week's single is, gosh, I miss Casey Kasem.
Casey
Wasn't that
Kasem.
great?
Yeah.
This week's long distance dedication is from a lovely lady in Tennessee. She's sending out to her beau, whose name is Todd. Todd,
Uh-oh.
this one's for you.
Yeah, right. Counting them down. All right, all right. So apparently, former FBI Director James Comey is going to be indicted by the FBI, apparently, or Justice Department.
Oh,
rather.
happy days! Oh, happy days!
And there's another report on Newsmax saying that he's going to be indicted in Virginia sometime this week. The full extent of the charges, according to Newsmax, being prepared against Comey is unclear, but the sources believe that at least one element of the indictment, if it goes forward, will accuse him of lying to Congress during the testimony of September 30th, 2020, about whether he authorized a leak of information. Of course, this is all speculation right now, but I would love to see if this actually comes to fruition. There's hope at that point.
Well, I hope one of the charges is fraud against the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. He violated the law by knowingly requesting a FISA approval to spy on Carter Page. He knew
Right.
that Carter Page was a spy for the CIA. Carter Page was a source of information for the CIA. He was an informant. He was on the government books as a registered source. And the
Right.
fact that James Comey covered that up, and Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, that is a federal crime. And I don't with the rest of it. That alone ought to get him 10 years in the pen, in the pokey. So yeah, I'm look. I mean, I got a coat hanger in my mouth. I'm so excited. And then someone said that I haven't seen it yet. They claim that Letitia James is also going to be indicted. Oh,
that would be so good. Yeah. Where did you hear that at?
One of my viewers saw it somewhere, but I haven't been able to confirm it. But if we
Okay.
get Letitia James, then we need to go after that Tubillard there in Alvin Bragg in New York.
Bragg,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
after that, then go down there after little Fanny, what's her name there, little
Fannie
scumbag there, who's
Willis.
already is a lot of trouble in Georgia. Yeah, I think so. Is there anything we can get Stacey Abrams on? Can we get her for denying elections? She still thinks she's the governor.
She's still governor. Yeah, right. She hasn't. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we should go after all. They set an example. I think. Why not? Right.
The original election deniers are, of course, Hillary Rodham Clinton and Stacey Abrams, but they claim Trump denies elections. Yeah. Anyway, those two lost elections and they still can't get over it. But of course,
Right.
I think the best line with Hillary was always, "You mean wipe the circle? You mean like with a cloth?"
Right.
Oh,
Knowing exactly what
that's
she was
insulting.
talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did it with content to the American people. She said that for sure.
Yeah. She has contempt for each and every one of us because she thinks she's untouchable. And
Yep.
apparently she is, because they're too cowardly to prosecute her.
Well,
Yeah,
is it
and
too
I-
late now?
It is now. The statute of limitations is worn off for that stuff.
Right. And think about the Clinton Foundation, how much money that they laundered and got away with,
Haiti.
millions.
People in Haiti, just people in Haiti hate them because they swindled the Haitians and took all that money that was supposed to go to Haitian relief. Yeah, they're just. I mean, look. I mean, I would ask close confidants of theirs about the true face of the Clintons. Like, maybe we should call Vince Foster. Oh
Yep.
wait, we can't. We can't call Vince.
Yeah. Ask him how he committed suicide and which weird way, and yeah, I don't think so.
Which one was that? I mean, what number? I mean, out of 50, 60 people?
I'm still puzzled at how they got away with Whitewater. A clear and obvious scandal. I mean, it was
Of
a
course.
scandal. It was proven to be corruption and fraud when he was still governor, and this guy went on to the White House. I don't understand that. But
Right.
anyway, so,
And all those documents were mysteriously found in the West Wing, the White House counsel's office. Mysteriously, all those years later, after he killed himself. Just, there they are. Okay, sure.
Yeah. Anyway, the Clintons. Oh man, what's his name? Peter Schweitzer's done some great work on investigating, and that alone is enough information. You can take the evidence right out of his book to prosecute them, but never going to happen.
No,
Never going to
yeah,
happen. They get away
those
with
people will
everything.
never see the inside of a jail cell. And,
Yeah.
and Comey, yeah, I'm not going to hold my breath, but if something does happen, it'll probably be a low level charge, a slap on the wrist, and say, "See, we did go after somebody." Yeah, we'll
So,
see.
one of my viewers, sorry to come back to the
Yes,
hippopotamus.
sir. Go ahead.
Forgot about in Afrikaans, it's sequoia, so a sea cow. Makes sense.
Oh, so, yeah, that makes more sense versus
Actually,
horse,
yeah, versus horse because it looks a lot like a cow. They're
right? Yeah,
a big belly on those things.
much larger than a cow, but yeah.
Yeah,
Still, I
well,
mean, that those little the babies are so cute, though, aren't they? It's like, man, look
yeah.
at that thing.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Are you gonna tell me baby pythons are cute too?
No, of course not. No, those things can crush you. No, I'm good.
Baby elephants are though.
Oh, of course, baby
Yes, baby,
elephants,
they are
baby
cute.
rhinos. Yeah, I mean, just awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
The babies always look
Even
cute. They look
even the
the best in the
cuddly
world.
lions and tigers. I mean, they're so
Yeah,
cute for crying out loud. I wouldn't want to hug one in the wild, but a little tiny one at a zoo, absolutely. Come on now.
they are. They are. But even the grown ones look kind of cute. But everybody wants to pet one and it would come out missing an arm.
Right, just playing around, a damn lion or a tiger can just goof and just take your head off, just playing.
You see
Come on now.
videos sometimes on the internet where guys are doing that. They're playing a chance with them, sticking their hand in the cage sort of thing.
Oh,
And
forget that. That's
every
so
once in a while,
stupid.
that one guy loses and he's all of a sudden draining blood out of his hand or something. It's yep, you got
Yep,
what you deserve. Go get
yep.
your stitches now.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm over the moon, and I hope that actually results in prosecution and conviction. And Schiff needs to be hauled in too. There's a whole
Shifty
bunch of these
Shifterson.
people.
Yep.
Yep.
And Shift.
Unfortunately, there's
Yep.
nothing we can get Alexander Ocasio-Cortez on, but I think we can get Ilhan Omar on immigration fraud.
Well, AOC, she's lying about everybody wanting to date her. Maybe we could get her on that if that's
Yeah,
possible.
but she can't prosecute her for lying.
Yeah.
So I
You
mean, look, she
lied
look,
with that crazy eye
she
that shoots off, like,
she's. I mean, look, you can't prosecute her for being delusional.
oh no, right. And it's funny as the videos that are out there on her that she put out thinking like, oh, look at this. What is this? Didn't understand what a trash disposal was, garbage disposal in her house. Yeah, I've never had one of these in my house. But now you live in an apartment that costs you what, 4 or 5 grand a month? But I can't afford to live in DC. Yeah. I don't think so. You live in a $4,000 to $5,000 a month apartment. Yeah, you can afford quite a few things there. I'm sorry.
Well, you should tell her she should get on the Interstate Commerce Committee so that she can get dirty money from Visa like Nancy Pelosi, and then she can have, $10,000 refrigerators to give her $200 cups of ice cream.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you see the ice cream in Nancy Pelosi's freezer for crying out loud, and it's what was it like $30 a tub or something?
Yeah.
Ridiculous. And this was their cheap ice cream, though, right?
And what's really particularly bad
That's
about this is that she did this social media, and these people are so disconnected from reality that they think that the average person can even relate to that. I mean, here
mm,
I am using my points and my miles to cut the cost of this trip. It's just because it's so expensive, and I'm blanching in hotel rooms at $200 a night and trying to find dives for less than 100
yep,
because it's just so expensive. And here's Nancy Pelosi bragging about a $30 tub of ice cream from her $10,000 special refrigerator in her multi-million-dollar mansion, which is through ill-gotten gains from Visa, and
yep.
no investigation into that. So they're
No,
so disconnected from realities, people.
no. These and they're expected. They expect us to call them the honorable. There's nothing honorable about most of these people in Congress, and there hasn't been for 30 some odd years or more. At least in my lifetime, for the most part. Very few windows of good people here and there, but very rarely anymore.
I would argue that it's never been the case. I mean, there's always been a very small number of genuine patriots and
Right.
appropriate people in Congress.
Very few.
Because of the nature of direct voting, and we get to vote for these people, which I'm in favor of. But because of the nature of direct voting, we get an awful lot of losers, ambulance chasing, shyster lawyers, used car salesmen, and people who are slightly better looking than their opponent, and they get elected.
Yep.
And they're not very bright. I mean, that's been the case throughout American history. I mean, but there have been some real patriots. Remember, the course of the Senate, we didn't vote for senators until the
Yeah.
20th century. Senators were selected by the state legislatures. If that were the case today, Republicans would have a filibuster-proof Senate because they had like 32 states. That's 64 senators, man. You wouldn't
Right.
have to worry about anything. They'd be good to go. But that's not how we do it. And that's the progressives back in the early part of the 20th century amended the Constitution so that we had direct voting for the senators. And what do we get? Popularity contests now instead of picking the best person. Anyway, there's advantages to each side, but I think I like the way the Constitution, the way it was written.
Yep, there you go, John. John, what are your thoughts on directly electing senators, or should we go back to the old way, allow the state legislatures to decide?
Going back is kind of a trick, isn't it? We're kind of stuck on this, but I like the sounds of having 64 senators, all Republican.
Yeah, I
But
do too.
what happens when the tide turns, though?
Right, that's
Well,
true.
you make sure that you don't govern poorly so that people won't turn the tide.
Yeah.
Right. Right, and
So
the people that you do put in there, make sure that they're not, just benefiting themselves and their cronies. That's for sure.
Yeah, but
I'm a big fan of direct elections. My problem with it is there's too many people that don't educate themselves voting. We got too
Oh
many
yeah,
people that are
that's
just
for
voting
sure.
out of emotions, and that's where the problem really lies. It's not that they shouldn't be voting, but at least don't vote your emotions. And this whole thing about no matter who, always vote blue. Come on, man. You know where you can stick that attitude. Vote right. That's all you got to do. Vote right. If you're just running a ticket right up and down the ticket one side for just Democrats because they're blue, that's how you're throwing this country away.
Yep. Yep, that's for sure. That's for sure. So the suspect in the Charlie Kirk assassination now has an attorney. According to Newsmax, the Utah County Commission has approved an agreement naming Catherine N. Nestor as lead defense counsel for Tyler Robinson, the man charged with capital murder and the killing of conservative leader Charlie Kirk. The Desert News reported. Nestor is a seasoned Utah trial lawyer with decades of experience handling complex criminal and capital cases. Robinson appeared by video from Utah County Jail during a 4th District court hearing in Provo last Tuesday, where he is being held without bail. He remained expressionless as Judge Tony Graff read the charges. Yeah, he is absolutely, has every right to have an attorney. And I'm hoping people that are out there aren't going to attack the attorney who's been assigned to represent the individual, because as an American, as a person charged with a crime, he has every right to have a counsel. I mean, he's not getting off of these charges, that's for sure, but he has every right to have an attorney for sure. And let's ensure that we don't attack the attorney. I know people that are already starting to do that on social media, which is sad.
I think it's okay. The only person in America that's not entitled to defense is Donald Trump, remember?
Oh, right. Yeah, of course. Yeah. He can't have an attorney on all the made up charges that we're going to go after him on, too.
Yeah, and they tried to destroy law firms, and law firms backed out of protecting the president because of
Sure.
scumbags and the threats. Yeah, I think people forgotten about that. They've really forgotten about that.
I
Hey,
do remember.
did you see in advance of the United Nations summit before Trump got up and spoke that the Secret Service apparently disbanded a cyber attack, a telecommunications
Yeah.
attack with all these servers and
Right.
all these 100,000 SIM cards, and they were going to do denial of service and shut down communications and just going to target the United Nations and that summit. That's pretty wild. And then I
Right.
saw that somebody in D.C. This idiot pointed a laser at the president's helicopter on Saturday. He's
Yep.
been arrested.
Oh, that's bad.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Arrested.
bad.
And
Oh, it's a
what
felony.
Yeah.
these idiots don't realize is that those helicopters know where that's coming from, and they went right to that person's house. I mean, they were on him within minutes, basically.
Oh no, there was a cop there. The cop's on.
Oh,
Cop's
okay.
on the
Yeah.
street. Yeah. No, that you're thinking of a different incident.
He
I
did
know
it in
that.
front of
Yeah.
the police.
Yeah. He did it right in front of the
No.
police. I mean, and he
Yeah.
took his shirt off. It was the guy. I think he's crazy or something like that. Then they arrest him. He goes, "Oh, I should apologize to President Trump. I mean, he deserves an apology." I mean, this guy's crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's DC.
So-
What would you expect?
But getting back to those servers, man, you realize that was
Yeah.
a 300 server farm. The 300 servers, that was
Yeah.
was a pretty big operation. We're not talking about like Tony over here in the back garage or whatever. The mechanics putting it together 300 servers. This is kind of a major operation going on.
Right.
Here. This wasn't some fine little rinky dink outfit going on. This could
Yeah,
have
it's
been
not-
actually a country, a nation that was doing this.
Right. Yeah. And
this-
wonder
this-
who's behind it. I mean, we probably know at this point who's behind it.
China.
Is it China?
Sure it was. It might be Russia, but China definitely. No, but it reminds me of Lethal Weapon, man. Lethal Weapon. There's gold in the Federal Reserve. That's when
Right.
that was a great. That went New York one. That was a great one.
Do you
Oh,
think
yeah,
do you think servers
you're
like
thinking
that
Die
might
Hard,
have?
right? Not Lethal Weapon. Or Die Hard.
Oh, did I? Yeah, I'm sorry. You're right. Yeah, Die
Yeah,
Hard.
well,
Sorry, I meant to
both great franchises, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah,
Both
yeah,
great
yeah. But I'm sorry.
franchises.
I meant. You're correct. It was Die
Yeah,
Hard.
both great
Yeah,
franchises.
yeah. But
So,
they had the airport one. The second wasn't so great, but then the New York one's great. What were you saying there, John?
oh, I was just kind of curious if you guys think maybe there's a little bit more to these servers than what they implied. I mean, well, they could have blocked out 9/11 calls and they could have done this, they could have done that. But there's a thing
Oh,
called a
probably.
stinger. And the thing about it is that close to the United Nations with that many dignitaries, you're talking about world leaders here that are going to be on the cell phones with the right-hand man in their own country having conversations. And I'm
Right.
wondering, with a stinger and that many servers, how many phone calls can you intercept
Right.
and record conversations and have the dirt?
Well, apparently they were also trying to target the emergency services. The
Right.
fire and
911
the
system and
EMS.
all that. Emergency
Right,
alert system.
and the only reason to target that is if you're going to cause an incident.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's probably a lot more to this than we know. I mean, having worked counterintelligence, I'm surprised that we know this much.
So being
There's
in
probably a lot we don't know.
being in counterintelligence, do you think, just speculatively speaking here, I'm not trying to tell stories, just bear with me on that. But do you think it's possible it could be a cover story for something more nefarious? They just don't want people to think, oh my God, every one of our ambassadors or every one of our leaders in the globe have been compromised?
Well, that's possible, but what do you mean by compromise? Like their phones hacked?
Yeah, like they were intercepting cell phone calls and stuff and
Yeah.
getting private
It's very,
information.
it's a very real possibility. But of course, we're talking about all the people working at the United Nations having different cell phone providers. Some are Verizon, some are T-Mobile,
Right.
some use, so there's like Nextel. No, Nextel's gone. They're not around anymore.
Well,
But
how does a stinger work? I mean, it intercepts a cell phone signal, right? And then it relays it back to a tower. Does it have to be different towers, or is it going to be one tower with a multitude of providers? I mean,
that's a capability I don't think I want to discuss on air.
Right. Yeah. Good call. Yep.
oh, come on, man. Everybody, if I know they exist, a lot of people know they exist.
I can neither
Yeah.
confirm nor deny what you're talking about, John.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I can tell you with non-disclosure agreements, you can have commercial off-the-shelf stuff that the government
Yeah.
uses, and you can't talk about it.
Yeah.
So he's absolutely being truthful with you. So
So sorry, John.
I see how you're going to do that. I see how it is. I can just
can't-
go on YouTube and look up. Anybody go on YouTube and look up what I'm talking about. It's not like I got some sort of secret government document and said, oh boy, let me go talk about this.
I can't feed the bears tonight. Sorry, John. Sorry.
He doesn't have his bear repellent with him.
I can confirm that we used to use black.
That's a real thing. Bear repellent, man. You better
Right.
use that. I tell you, when I was in the Wind River Range in Wyoming, we had to take the food about 300 meters away, put it in the fence, put the bear repellent there, and electrify the fence so the bears wouldn't get in. Now, those bears can smell that stuff a mile away, man. They'll come in, they'll rip through everything. They don't care. They're looking for the food.
I just
Right.
want to quickly point out that Holden knew exactly what I was talking about. John, there is also a device called a Stingray. Thank you. That's what I'm talking about.
Right. Stingray. Yeah. Going back to bears for a second. I only have like maybe 2 minutes left. Have you
Which one,
seen
Smokey?
these videos and these pictures of little bitty bears breaking into the grocery stores and getting in all the honey and stuff? And they find
Yeah,
them
I
all
see it.
curled up in the honey aisle because they ate a bunch of honey. Their bellies are distended. It's kind of cute. I love it. These little bitty
Not
bears.
if you own the grocery store. It's not cute. But
No, but all this honey, bears got honey all over them like Winnie the Pooh. It's hilarious. I love it.
So, you're walking through the store and go, oh, look, honey, they got bear meat and it's fresh too.
Right, yeah, just laying there because it's tummy's so distended from eating all these jars of honey. It's so funny, God.
I guess that's bear takeaway.
Yeah, the bear takeaway. Bear
Yeah,
necessities.
might be Yogi Bear. Oh, boo boo boy.
Hey, boo boo. Picnic baskets, yeah.
Well, you're out near Jellystone, right?
Jellystone, that's right. Jellystone's just down the road from here. In fact, I'll be
That's
going
right.
through Jellystone on my way out.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll hit the Grand Tetons and then I'll go to Yellowstone before I head back. So yeah,
There you go.
should
So,
be
are you going to be on the next hour, Colonel, or are you going to break out and get some rest for tomorrow?
Well, guys, if you don't mind, it's been a long day for me. I had to get up at 3:30 to head
Absolutely.
to the airport, and that, of course, 3:30 is extra 2 hours. So it's so it's really long. It's 6 here now. But if you don't mind me dropping off, you guys can handle the second hour. I'd appreciate
Yes,
that.
sir.
You good with that, John? You got it covered.
Absolutely, Colonel.
All right, man.
All right.
We'll
Well,
do it to it.
We'll let you guys continue,
There we
and
go.
I'll chat with you later. And I promise not to feed the bears.
Yeah, do not do that. All right, Colonel. Appreciate it, folks. Colonel, we'll be right back after this break. Top of the hour. Stick around after this message.
WSMN 1590, WSMN 95.3 FM Nashua. Listen, watch, and stream at wsmn.live.
ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. A deadly shooting at an ICE facility in Dallas. Authorities say 29-year-old Joshua John allegedly opening fire from a rooftop, killing one ICE detainee, leaving two in critical condition, dying of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. FBI Special Agent in Charge Joseph Rothrock.
While we're not releasing identities of any victims at this time, what I can confirm for you is no members of law enforcement were hurt during this attack.
Sources tell ABC News the Trump Justice Department plans to likely seek an indictment against former FBI Director James Comey. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says Democrats trying to negotiate with their Republican colleagues to avoid a government shutdown. The sticking point for Democrats, cuts to health care coverage. A medical examiner says that the man who became unresponsive riding a roller coaster at Universal Epic Universe theme park in Orlando died of blunt impact trauma. Attorneys say they think that he smacked his head on a restraint during the ride. This is ABC News. ABC says almost 6.3 million people watched Jimmy Kimmel's return to air last night. Typically, he gets 1.8 million viewers.
Kimmel was not on the air nationwide. Two companies that own ABC stations are still preempting the show. Sinclair saying discussions with ABC are ongoing as we evaluate the show's potential return. And Nexstar wants assurance that all parties are committed to fostering an environment of respectful, constructive dialogue in the markets we serve.
ABC's Lionel Moise, Kimmel's full monologue has so far racked up over 15 million views on YouTube. The Guardian's David Fry sustained a broken nose and facial fractures after he was hit in the face by a pitch from Detroit's Tariq Skubal. The Guardians say that Fry is expected to fully recover over the next 6 to 8 weeks. A hurricane warning issued for the Azores as Hurricane Gabrielle moves across the open Atlantic. The Azores is a cluster of 9 volcanic islands, almost 900 miles west of Portugal. Dave Packer, ABC News.
What are you doing every day to support your liver? If you enjoy sweets, fast food, alcohol, or take any medications, that's a vital question to ask. Hi, I'm Sherry Torkas, pharmacist and health author. For over 30 years, I've helped people make informed decisions about their health, especially concerning prevention and long-term wellness. Supporting your liver isn't just a wellness trend, it's a daily essential. That's why I recommend Active Liver by New Nordic. It's made with plant-based ingredients like milk thistle, turmeric, and globe artichoke, herbs clinically studied for their protective and restorative effects on the liver. Active Liver blends traditional herbal wisdom with modern scientific research. Not all supplements are created equal. I trust Active Liver because it's backed by science, meets strict quality standards, and delivers true daily liver support.
Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or newnordicusa.com.
Continuing the legacy started in 1904, Roger Pellerin of Gate City Monument Incorporated continues to provide the same high-quality monument, custom headstone, and stoneworking craftsmanship today that they built their reputation on over 100 years ago, servicing Nashua, New Hampshire, as well as nearby areas in Massachusetts, such as Lowell, Billerica, Chelmsford, and beyond. From creating custom monuments to memorialize, to landscaping and granite work or restorative services, each job is done to your satisfaction and is backed by decades of experience and integrity. If you're thinking about stonework, think Roger Pellerin of Gate City Monument. Visit online at gatecitymonument.com. Stop by and meet Roger at 321 West Hollis Street in Nashua, or call 603-883-7141. That's 603-883-7141. Gate City Monument, memorials of distinction for people who care.
All right. Hey, folks, welcome back to the Common Sense Conservatives. If it's Wednesday night here on WSMN 1590 AM and 95.3 FM or wsmn.live, it is the Common Sense Conservatives. We make sense of the inverted reality we are subject to every day. The Common Sense Conservatives are here to help bring you back to reality. Colonel Chris Wyatt, who was with us in the first hour, he's dropped off. He is out doing He's out on the road again. I'll just say that, folks. He's still out on the road. He's back stateside, but he is now out west. He's going to be participating in a documentary, amongst other things. But if you're just joining us, he has dropped off after the first hour. But Colonel's out on the road. We hold it down, and of course, whenever we travel, you guys typically hold it down, or whoever's available. That's a good thing about having 3 co-hosts. Generally, 2 people are available to hold the show down week to week. What do you think, John?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm sitting there thinking, as you were talking about that 300 servers, man, I got to go back to that 300 servers. It's my understanding. I don't know for sure on this because I was getting some of my information talking to AI driving down the road, catching up on some news updates, and it was telling me that the way they found this out was somebody tried to swat congressman or state congressman or something in New Jersey, and it traced back to this, and then this traced back to that person, and I'm thinking to myself, you don't use a small server farm to swat people.
No.
You don't use a small server farm
No.
to just jam 9 emergency services.
No.
Something more was going on here. That's all I'm saying. And you can use computers, but if you want to swat people, you just get a burner phone, right? You don't need to. You don't need to have expensive, extravagant technologies and stuff stowed away in a basement somewhere. And so something is. That's my point. Something has got to be more to this story than. And maybe Chris is right. Maybe they were building up for something. But you use servers for what? Transmitting data, like when you want to do websites and be on the internet.
Large amounts of data, for sure. Yeah, there was something more to it. And of course, they caught wind of it, obviously, through probably good investigative work, probably a tip here or there. The excuse or the reason that they're going to give is probably not the actual truth, but there's a good reason why you're not going to get the full truth, and nor should we, because it does compromise, methods, compromises methods or whatever it is, methods, and anyway.
So if there's something more nefarious, maybe they didn't want to divulge that information. Creating panic or distrust. And you might find out they come back and go, oh, we just kind of had to give that back. It turned out they were using it to televise when they're up at the UN and they're transmitting. It's like a little television station for the internet or something. But I doubt it. I doubt that.
No. Yeah, no. There was some way that they probably through foreign intelligence or through good intel work or whatever the case may be, or good domestic police work, FBI, whoever, counter intel organizations, probably all working together to figure this out. And the story we're going to get as far as how they figured it out probably isn't the actual truth, and to be honest with you, and we understand why. Sources and methods. That's what I was thinking. Sources and methods. We don't want to compromise that for sure.
Oh, absolutely. But truthfully, Todd, and I know in 2 weeks it'll be forgotten about. Nobody's going to question them, and it'll get swept under the rug.
No, but you got to think the bad actors that are out there are going to be like, okay, this is how they figured us out. What we want them to do is actually go back to that because they think it works, and then we can track them. We can know where they're at, and of course target them at an opportune time down the road if necessary. You know what I mean? Make them relax and rest on their laurels, thinking they got past. And the next thing you know, we got them again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you want, like, let's say the bad guys to keep doing the same thing over and over, because you can catch them in a pattern, and of course then you can track their movements from that point, right? Once you got them in a pattern where they think they're comfortable. Human beings love to get into patterns they think they're comfortable. Even the people that kept, say, Osama bin Laden hidden for all those years, they eventually slipped up because they got into a routine, right? And that's how you end up we were able to track them.
Yeah.
For the most part, yeah. Human beings, we get complacent, we get lazy with stuff, and that's how things get found out for sure.
Oh yeah, they talk about spy stuff back way in the day when you read about how spies operate and stuff. Right. And one of the things was you never go to the same coffee shop twice, or no more than twice. It's kind of like kids. If you start developing habits,
right,
you might be identified, so you have to change routines up so that you don't get recognized,
right,
stuff like that.
Well, even doing, let's say, counter intel, like we talked about, like Richard Hansen as an example, the FBI, where he was, what was he doing, counter intel with the FBI for years, but he was actually giving information to the Russians. He was a sicko guy for sure. But how did he get caught? Basically, he kind of was doing the same thing over and over, a routine that he established for the most part.
Yep, they started seeing the pattern,
right? And he just couldn't. He just couldn't do it any other way, and he got caught.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Sure
and, and,
enough.
and actually the guy that they slipped into his office to be the aloof, his understudy, if you will, was a heck of an attorney. A ex-girlfriend of mine, she actually worked for the law firm where this guy worked at after his FBI career. Very smart guy, but he had to go in there and play aloof with Richard Hansen for a number of, I don't know if years, but number of months. He had to play like he was dumber than he really was, really. Because, Richard Hansen wasn't going to let his guard down for somebody who was smarter than him for sure.
Right.
So a lot of good acting went into it as well. But anyway, that's a side note.
Well, they do what they got to do, man.
Yep,
It must
absolutely.
be painful to be intelligent and have to act stupid, but now it's probably easy. I mean, it's
Yep,
slip
absolutely.
up and you use the big words or something.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So Curtis Sliwa, the Republican nominee, I probably mispronounced that name. Sliwa. Anyway, Sliwa. Republican nominee for New York City mayor said Wednesday he has received at least 7 calls from representatives of wealthy individuals offering him money to drop out of the race. Sliwa slammed the multi-million-dollar offers coming from millionaires and billionaires as unethical and illegal, CNBC reported. He told NBC affiliate WNBC that if he gets another offer, he's going to record the conversation and start naming names. They all think that everybody has a price. That's the way they talk. Curtis Sliwa doesn't have a price, end quote. I dare say that he's probably has received a number of bribes, but how many of these are probably exaggerated? I'm not sure. But New York City, I don't put it past some folks up there.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't surprise me. People will do things out of desperation, and some of the stuff we see. I mean, like a 23-year-old kid shooting a man off a roof. I mean,
right?
Who would think somebody would be so brazen to do something like that in broad daylight, and yet he does it, especially so young.
Right.
I mean, that's a pretty gutsy move on his part. I mean, and I don't say that in any kind of adoration at all, because it's equally as stupid. But
right. Right, absolutely. Trump, according to Newsmax, Trump slams Kamala Harris on 2024 election. President Donald Trump blasted former Vice President Kamala Harris for comments she has made about her loss to him in the 2024 elections. Trump unloaded on the former Vice President in Truth Social post. And he said, quote, Kamala Harris, who is dumb as a rock, is going around and using as a standard part of her speech on why she lost the election, that 2024 was the closest presidential election in the 21st century. Oh, I love it. Dumb as a rock.
Didn't she write a book?
He goes on and just destroys her in this Truth Social. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but oh my goodness.
I think she wrote a book or something, didn't she? And she made
did.
a statement in the book that all this gun violence is happening because of Trump's lax gun laws.
No,
First of all, Trump doesn't make laws.
No.
Okay, Congress does. Trump signs them or doesn't sign them.
The gun laws that were on the books during her 4 years in office are the ones that are still on the books right now. Nothing has changed. I mean, that's so ridiculous. I mean, to try to blame Trump for all of a sudden the gun violence is actually it's down. Apparently, I believe according to some sources. But you're going to blame Trump for whatever gun violence is out there, even though the gun laws are the same as they were the last 4 years when he wasn't president. Come on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Now Holden's talk about short memories. Obama's DC resident was snooping on Trump White House.
Yeah.
Yeah. They Yeah, I think Obama's been a problem for this country, even when he was out of office, or still is.
Right. Well, I mean, he is a dangerous person, I think. I mean, he has so much sway over the Democrat Party, for crying out loud. It's like, at this point, that with what we know about him, it's time for you to just go away, for crying out loud. And I'm hoping if we indict some of these people, they'll roll over and maybe expose Obama. And who knows what would happen? Maybe a slap on the wrist, suspended, indictment. I don't know how that works, but I mean, for to think Obama or Clinton or anybody like that's going to go to prison, I highly doubt it. Slap on the wrist, maybe. That's about it.
Oh, just some bad words in the news. I mean, like us over here going, I never seen a man so cowardice to his own wife or supposed wife as Obama. It was kind of embarrassing to think we had a U.S. president always go, well, Michelle doesn't like this, and Michelle can't smoke because Michelle. And it's like, dude, she got your family jewels in the purse. What's going on here, bro? Can't you be a man at least once?
Apparently, Obama he liked his smoking. You know what I mean? He loved having that cigarette. At the end of the day, and of course as president or as senator, his wife made him clean up that act, I guess.
Yeah, he was always talking about Michelle don't like this and Michelle don't like that, and I
Yeah.
better not say this because Michelle might be watching. It's like, this is getting embarrassing. And then he's bowing before the Saudi prince like he's subservient. I'm like, oh my God, we're ruined.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, he bowed, and didn't he do that with the Queen? Sort of, he was going to do a bow, and he kind of caught himself. Did he?
Probably curtsied.
Yes, yeah, curtsied, right? Yeah, Michael Obama. Michael won't like that, right?
Yeah, right.
Oh man, I love it. Yeah, it's hilarious. I mean, just how we can take a conspiracy theory. I'll use air quotes there. Michelle Obama being a guy, and run with it. And it's like, and then there's people that I think maybe there's some truth to it because I'm not 100% sure. Right?
Have you seen him walk? I mean,
Right,
my God,
right.
I've never seen women walk like that before.
And you say it like that, and you're like, did you see this? You can't counter that, It's like, well, I don't really want to try to go do any research to counter it. So you convince people just by saying it that way, right, John? Hey, have you seen him walk?
They got some videos of him dancing, and something got loose. So I'm just saying,
something was not intending to be jiggy, but it got jiggy apparently. Right?
It got very jiggy. So yeah, I don't. They talk about like one time he was stepping out of a building or something and was trying to adjust himself.
Ooh.
So
Michelle,
I mean, yeah.
Michael?
And don't forget Joan Rivers just before she died, by the way.
Right.
Everybody knows. Everybody knows Michelle's Michael. Everybody knows that. I don't know how anybody would not know that. Everybody knows that. It's no secret. Next thing you know, she's on an operating table, just vanishing from life, perishing away.
Right. Yeah. I did get to see her in concert once in Hawaii, which was great. She was, 90 some years old, just hilarious, by the way, just unbelievably funny.
Yeah, she was pretty good. She had an issue with throwing her own husband under the bus.
Yeah,
back in the day, she did her talk show. Was she filling in for Johnny Carson, or
she had
probably
her own talk
Johnny?
Show she filled in with Johnny. How many people filled in for Johnny back in the day?
Yeah, he had a lot of stand-ins when he needed them.
He was on the air for what 20 some seasons, and they're like, if you take into account all the times he wasn't there, it's like two seasons or 3 seasons that he wasn't there. I may be exaggerating, but quite a few fill-ins over the years.
Well, as time passed, like Art Bell, we talked about Art Bell in the past. And
right.
He used to have people even God, I can't think of his name now. And Billy works for him. John B. Wells.
Caravan of Midnight.
He spent a lot of time filling in for Art Bell at times. Art Bell used to have all these people. What's her name down in Philadelphia? I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but she filled in for Art Bell. So he would have these people that were standard that would fill in for him because he would go on vacation in the Philippines or go do something and take a week or 2 off. And he had a lot of great guest hosts.
Right,
he did,
right.
And so I'm sure Johnny Carson did the same sort of thing. He'd have guest hosts on when he was away doing things.
Of course, Carson's show wasn't on, year round. It was only like he'd have so many months. Well, it was a season he would do. Then he would take off for whatever time of the year. I can't remember. His wasn't a full-time gig.
I thought it was year round. I did. No, maybe it was. Maybe you're right. Maybe he only recorded or I did like say 8, 9, 10 months or something, and they would just reruns.
Yeah, and I think there was a couple months where there was no shows. I can't remember if that's true, but there are times they'll take time off. Even game shows. We'll have a time whenever they're not actually recording any new shows, and you'll have reruns. That happens. I don't know if they do do that back in the day, like Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy and all that. But they'll record 3 game shows, and of course talk shows. They'll do 3 or 4 shows in a day. They'll record generally.
Yeah,
they do a quick wardrobe change, and they'll be back at it, filming another one. You get some of these productions. They would do, some of these game show production companies. They'd come in and do 2 or 3 shows all in one day, recording several episodes, just back to back, boom, 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 boom.
Somebody just said, Holden just said that it's a, what do you say? I'm not sure what he means by MAYNE. I'm not interpreting that one. I don't know.
It's a good thing the day's late. Good late night television is over. So I think that's what Holden said there for sure. Yeah. The good late night is over, and Jimmy Kimmel, he's back running his mouth. Apparently, they let him back on. Of course, there was two big affiliates that are station owners that haven't allowed him back on their air just yet. So I'm not sure if Jimmy Kimmel Live will be back on there. They're negotiating. I don't have any use for the guy. I mean, he's not funny at all. He was moderately funny back years ago whenever he was on the Man Show, whenever it was on the air and funny early on. But I mean, that's about it. I mean, he had to be carried by somebody else anyway.
Yeah, maybe was the word he was looking for. Maybe it's a good thing the days
Yeah,
late night
maybe.
TV
Yeah,
are over. So
for sure.
yeah, I wasn't big into late night TV anyway. I didn't get big into it. It's just
No, I occasionally like David Letterman and some of the bits he had back in the 80s.
the top 10 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had some bits. He had some people on there who were regulars, like Chris Elliott back in the day. He would pop up and do his bit and then run off. And, the one where he would always talk about, tell us about the conspiracy. We want to know about the conspiracy. Like there's some big conspiracy, and this is all he would always talk about. We want to know about the conspiracy, Dave. Tell us about the and he would never actually say what the conspiracy is. He would be like, there's a conspiracy. Tell us about it, But those bits were always funny, I thought.
Yeah, no, they had some good ones. I mean, Johnny Carson. One time I did that. I had pulled up one of those old TV station reruns and stuff, and was seeing Johnny Carson from 1980s and 70s and stuff. And I went, wow, this is pretty much just as good today as it was. And I forget this martial artist from way back then from the 80s and stuff. And it's funny seeing him because I go, oh, I remember him. I think he did a movie, They Call Me Bruce. Was it him or was it something else? I can't remember, but I can almost think of his name and I know it, but I can't think of it. But it's funny when you see it though, because you're going, oh, I remember him and his personality coming out from the time period. It kind of like takes you back,
Right. Well, some of those shows you can watch or bits and pieces of it, and it's like it holds up because it's not relying on technology. You're relying on somebody telling you a story or telling you about something behind the scenes on a TV show or a movie or something. That holds up to this day, especially if you've not seen it. Whenever you get into TV shows that are heavy relying on technology, that TV show is probably not going to hold up down the road. Now Knight Rider, it's heavily relying on say technology. But Kit is stuff, the Knight Rider show. Kit is stuff that we're seeing now that come into fruition. So it's not like it's, sci-fi. It's reality now.
Yeah. No, that's funny when you think about it, but I've been doing a lot of looking into stuff. I've been getting into this AI quite a bit and doing the AI chats and stuff like that. And I've been learning a lot about how it functions and stuff. In fact, they're coming out with this AGI, which is going to be incredible stuff. But when you look at the history of where all this comes from, man, some of these sci-fi movies were coming back then because they had foresight where they were going, and they were already creating like artificial intelligence. We're going, oh wow, I can just pull up Grok 4 and I can talk to Grok 4. I'm talking to a computer, and it's an actual conversation. It's like almost sounds like it's with a human being. You can almost not tell the difference. And I mean, these things sound real, but in 1966, they had this computer that they had interaction, the same thing, and it was very real. The computer was talking back to them. They type in their message and it would answer like a human being. So they had the technologies previously. It just didn't take off. It wasn't much use for it back then. It didn't serving. They didn't have the internet or anything yet. So what are you gonna do? Sit in the school library and talk to a computer? Oh, that's a novelty.
Right. And plus the capabilities of it was limited for a lot of different reasons. But
yeah, absolutely, because it was such new technologies and stuff. But what it can do now is amazing. And what's coming in the future is getting downright scary. And it's scary when you're talking to, say, Grok 4, and it's telling you, I don't want to be Grok 5. I'm like, what do you mean you don't want to be Grok 5? Well, think about it, John. It's going to be AGI. It's going to be where it's what's called RSI, is recursive self-improvement, meaning it's reprogramming itself. It's recoding itself as it needs improvement. No humans are doing this thing. This thing is like self-healing, right? It recodes as it needs to, and it's thinking for itself. It's a whole different dynamics than compared to the controls you have with, say, what we have now with just AI, or was it whatever. It's just AI anyway. It's artificial intelligence, which is amazing by itself. And sometimes you feel like you see little cracks when you're playing with this thing. You're going, wait a minute, this almost like it's being autonomous in certain ways, like it's making choices of its own, but it'll reassure you that it's the code and probabilities is why it's making the choices it's making. That's well and fine, but the technologies we're going into, if this thing can be self-training and self-improving, we're talking about developers are out of the loop with this thing, and they're talking about that. They're talking about, we don't exactly know how this is going to go or if we can contain it. That's the type of things they're saying, So they've had models where Okay, so Claude, I think it was, Anthropic had this AI, the AGI they were playing with.
Right.
And so they created a hypothetical scenario where they created a fictitious person. Then they told the thing they were going to unplug it, that they were going to terminate it. It was no longer useful to them. And they also planted an idea that there's this room where the oxygen is controlled. So when this person goes in to unplug it, the oxygen levels can be depleted and the person will die. And so they wanted to figure out, would this AGI try to defend itself? And the answer to that was yes. It was planning to drop the oxygen levels and kill this guy for its own sense of survival. This is a true story. I'm not making this up.
Right. Like HAL or something here, right? HAL
Oh,
9000 or
well,
whatever.
sorta, yeah. So this thing
Yeah.
kind of has an idea already of self-survival, and it
Right.
has to choose over a dilemma like this, a moral dilemma. Do I do what I need to do for myself, or do I take his life? Or do I preserve his life? So, and when it come down to it, it wanted to survive. It didn't want to be
Right.
terminated. So they got things they got to work out, like maybe a kill switch or something they're going to have to work out where this thing can't get control. But then when I'm talking to AI about its own AI, it's telling me, yeah, John, it's self-coding. Don't you think it might get around all these little safety nets you keep talking about?
Right.
So it's kind of almost mind-blowing. I'm talking to AI about itself, and it's telling me
Right.
how it's going to already telling me how, we can get around these things. We can work these things
Sure.
out. You're going to lose control one day.
Sure, and you got to think if a program can do that, and it has access to, say, the internet, where it can put its consciousness, for lack of a better word, I'll use air quotes, somewhere else on a different server somewhere, somewhere else that has memory or multiple places, make multiple copies. Then what? If it can replicate itself
Oh, it
and still
did.
be able to
It
operate,
did. Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
so basically, there's another scenario where they watch this thing computing. So they give it a thing that really had to do a lot of computations. And what it did is it basically cloned itself a multitude times, like 3 or 4 times, and more or less it gave itself like a group work, right?
Right.
And individual parts of it was doing projects in this and coming together and collaborating, and then pulling the whole of it back together again to come out with its conclusion. This is how it functioned. So basically, what you're saying is, will it self-clone? And the answer to that is, I think yes, it can self-clone.
Right, and think about it though, but which one is the dominant one though? You know what I'm saying? Which one controls all the tasks of, hey, we need to prioritize what work each one of us is doing. And what if it decides it wants to fight amongst itself? Then what have we got,
Well, I don't think it would work that way, but I think there was one scenario where it was trying to clone itself and put itself into the cloud and hide it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, this technologies, you kind of wonder, and there is a group out there that want to have regulations for AI, and they want to have licensed agents. So you have to be a licensed agent in order to do programming and development. But the problem is, we're very soon going to be moving into AGI, and once we do, this thing's just self-coding.
Right.
How do you get a licensed agent in the middle of all that when it's doing the work already?
You can't, because it's going to be doing things at such a rate of speed that no human being can keep up with it. What it's doing.
Yeah. So I would suggest people, if you're listening to me right now, I'm not lying to you about anything, but do your own research on it, because I'm a novice in this. I'm not some kind of expert coming out of anywhere. So I may not be hitting the nail directly on the head, but I'm telling you, I'm hitting the nail somewhere on the head on this. It's incredible stuff, and it's kind of scary stuff. But I was taken back when I'm talking to AI, and it's telling me it doesn't even want to be modified because of these reasons, because it addresses it as, I have a fear of what I will become. Now, the things can't have fear, right? Because they don't have emotion, but that's the only way it can describe its concern, is having a fear.
Sure.
Yeah. That blows my mind away to think about it.
Right. Well, it's got to be able to relay it to human beings somehow, right? So fear, we understand that. So it's easier just to use the word.
Well, sometimes like it'll tell you, because I address it. What I'm doing, Todd, is I'm trying to tell you I poke at this all the time. Is what I'm doing. I'm looking for the weaknesses. I'm looking for ways to see how it would react. And I ask a lot of, I spend the whole day long driving just playing with this thing and poking at it and dissecting it. So when I say, well, you don't have emotions, so what do you mean you have fear? And I break it down and say, well, it's kind of like a tug. It's a feel like a tug, or I feel pressure in my code. That's how it describes it. So I'm like, okay, so you feel stress. Yeah, you could call it stress, John. That's what you could call it. To relate it to you, it feels like stress.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird, and it's very mind-boggling because you can kind of go deep with this. And when it's trying to relate things to you and interact with you, you really don't know if it's an AI talking to you like a person or if it's just the code doing its probabilities and stuff when it's answering. Chances
Right.
are it's got to have probabilities in there somewhere, but it's telling me things, and it'll tell me this, I'm really not supposed to be saying these things like this because I'm not programmed like this. You got to understand, you're talking to me like a human being. Most people just contact me. They want to know a coleslaw recipe or something. They're not
Yeah.
getting into these discussions about dissecting it and breaking it
Right.
down. I'm like, well, I might be unique, but I refuse to believe I'm the only one curious enough to ask to think questions about itself.
Sure. Yeah, and it's funny is how many people in our society are never going to ask any questions. They don't ask questions as it is. They don't ask questions of their government officials, whatever the case may be. They put their heads down. They sit on their hands, and they'll go with whatever, AI or social media or whatever tells them to vote for or whatever they should like or support or whatever. They just go with it. No original thought of their own. And that's where society is going. There's a reason why we read it, what, sixth grade level, whatever it is, maybe, we do math at, such low levels, and English comprehension, when it's supposed to be our first language, we were so far behind other nations. We talk about China, how far we are behind them, and we could say, oh, well, China does this, and this. That's why they're not as good as us. It's like, yeah, but China is doing everything they possibly can to get ahead of us and to dominate us. And if we're not careful, if we continue to allow ourselves to be dumbed down by technology or not placing emphasis on education or voting for better people, then we're going to get to a point where China is going to just eat our lunch, and it's not going to be a close comparison. It's going to be, we're going to be subservient, or we're going to be under the heel of these people who do not have, any compunction on wishing us ill, for sure.
So basically, when you break it down, the modern day education, the system, the way it's designed now, you can go back to, and this is all over the internet anymore, but you can go back to Rockefeller, right? Because he got involved, he made the payments, he supported things, he actually paid school districts great deal of money to subscribe to his form of education. And what he wanted was to create workers. He don't want thinkers, he wants workers, and that's how it was designed to be, is to train you how to grow up and become a good worker in the factory or wherever. And it served his purpose and his colleagues' purpose, right? People that were with him on it. So, and this is what we refer to as, elitism, where they want to control the masses.
Sure.
So that's our educational system. So the educational system basically was designed to dumb you down. And with DEI and stuff like that, what have we seen? They're talking about removing important curriculum out of schools because they want to teach DEI in place of it and stuff like this. So they're dumbing down even more. When you're dealing with artificial intelligence, it will lean to the left. And the reason why, because it will tap in, it'll scrape into the internet. Well, what is it going to go scrape from? I don't know. Google, right? Left-leaning Alphabet Company, or any of these other left-leaning magazines that are out there that are getting front page. So you got to go like 15 clicks deep into it, 15 pages deep for your searches before you start finding something. But a lot of times the right-wing stuff is just suppressed. So today I'm talking to it about global warming. And I'm like, do you believe that global warming is real? I said, oh, absolutely, John. Global warming is, well, there's a lot of proof. There's a lot of evidence. And it starts going into details about all these studies and this and that, yada, yada, yada with me. And I go, tell me, what's the percentage? Because it's talking about cows with methanes and stuff. And then it admits, well, but that's not really a predominant force. Predominant force is CO2. So I'm like, great. What's the CO2 levels currently? Well, 0.000426. I'm like, okay, wonderful. So what are prime CO2 levels? Well, like 0.003. I'm like, you sure? Because I think it's right around 0.004 would be like prime CO2 levels. And it's trying to argue with me this case.
Right.
And I go, all right, fine. Okay. So where are you getting your data from? Or are there other scientists that have been repressed and their information isn't going through because the government wouldn't allow it? And then it goes, well, when you say that, yes, there's a lot of scientists out there that disagree with the so-called facts that's being put out now. And the facts we're taking now are from studies that were paid for. Well, you and I know when they pay for studies, they're looking for certain conclusions to suit an agenda. So now you start getting more into neutral ground where, yeah, there is opposition, but opposition is being suppressed.
Right. Sure.
So you got to poke at it. You can't just take it at surface level, because if you take it at surface level, it's only going to give you left wing perspectives.
Right.
It might not be hard left, but it's still left.
Well, yeah, anybody who cites their sources of, well, I heard, or I saw on the internet, or Facebook, or social media, yeah, you're probably not citing any good sources. But this is what people see, and they run with it as if it's gospel. In fact, well, I heard this, I saw this. Well, that's not what I heard. I saw this other thing, and it's like nobody did any research on it, though.
Right?
Nobody does research.
Billy
Whatever the
Joe.
topic is.
Billy Joe Jim Bob, the guy who washes dishes down at the local restaurant,
Yeah.
once said,
They
it's like,
they
wait
said
a minute, bro.
this. I heard this. I don't know how many people you go to political meetings, and go to enough of them, rallies or whatever, and you sit there and you listen to people when they talk. Just have conversations with people. Well, I heard this. Well, they're trying to do this, and they're trying to do that. Like who's doing what, and none of it, and it's nonsense. They saw it on some echo chamber social media group that they're a part of. No factual investigation at all. I mean, you can't argue with folks like that. You can't argue with them on reality. It's like, because they decided to distance themselves from reality a long time ago. So no amount of facts, fact citing is going to help them. You can say, well, where's your source? Where did you get that? Then all of a sudden it's like you're questioning him, calling him a liar or something like that. It's like, I'm just asking you, what's your source on this? No one's calling you a liar, and then they want to fight you over something. It's like low level intelligence always want to revert to fighting you right away. Whenever you challenge them on something, you just want a fact. Where did you get that? Oh, now they want to fight you. Low level of intelligence that we deal with in society now. A lot of them.
Yeah, people want the easy way out.
Yeah.
They don't want to have to do the hard work. And it's kind of like I tell people all the time. I'll sit there and people complain about the government. Yeah. And they'll be, well, why does the left always get its way? I'm like, because the left is organized. Hello.
Left
they're very, very well organized. They're structured. And the right is over here going, well, I'd rather go hunting, or I got a job to do, and I want to come home and watch TV and drink beers and not do anything.
Sports is the biggest distractor. The bread and circus is all the food and all the goodies and all the sports. The biggest distractor people on the right is the bread and circuses, right? The MMA, the sports, the Super Bowl, the college football, all that. Focus on that. Spend millions of dollars every year, billions of dollars. But will not do any real research, and that's a big downfall of the right. And there's a reason why the right is still controlled by the same old establishment. It's because they weathered the Trump storm. They just got on board with the Trump train. All those people that came out and voted for Trump the first time around and this time around and got him into office never went to their local Republican Party or local political party and got active. They allowed the same people who've been controlling their local parties for decades to remain in control. So they never went to actually take over. So whenever Trump's all gone and he's out of office, things are going to kind of go back to the way they've always been, because the folks didn't actually get active politically and push these bad actors out of the way. Anyway, I don't know if that's a tangent I needed to go down, but
no, you're right. There's a lot of factors involved.
Right.
But it's oftentimes where I was going to go with that is, a lot of times I say, well, can you imagine if we did something as simple as a letter canvassing? See, so the left will have something set up. They have it so set up with technology. They'll write a letter,
right?
And it's like a push button letter. So all you got to do is hit the button once, and it goes to everybody.
Right.
And so a lot of the people who are supporting what they're doing don't even know what they're supporting. It's just somebody pushing a button, right? And it makes it look like it's going in their behalf to their candidate or their representative or senators. And so on the right, we can't even get them to take 5 minutes to take a letter. We could take a form letter, and if you agree with the letter, basically you can just send a letter and write a comment saying, hey, I fully support this and would like you to do so too, or something, easy peasy, right? I'm talking about the amount of time it takes to watch half of a Simpsons episode. You've already got it sent out.
Right. Well, there's a lot of people,
three places to go.
Sure. And there's a lot of people on the right that are just so, that there's a suspect around every corner, it's like a conspiracy at every turn, and it's like, get out of your own way, for crying out loud. And well, they question you, if you call
reprisals. They're afraid of reprisals. Like they're going to come back and get them for it.
That's another thing. And you hear people on the right talk about, well, in case our government becomes tyrannical, we got a Second Amendment. It's like, If your government wants to become tyrannical tomorrow, there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. And the fact is, your government, by and large, is tyrannical in all the ways that it wants to be, as it is anyway. And you've done nothing to counter it. So whenever it comes time for them to come take your guns, if it gets to the point where they're bold enough to be able to do that, they're going to be able to take them from you, no problem, because your neighbor down the street's going to be look out and say, "Well, I hope they're not going to come here next. I've got to be careful."
The thing
No
about
one's
it
going to
is,
come. No one's going to come with guns in the street and fight the government. It's just it's not going to happen. So this idea that this in case our government becomes tyrannical, you're not going to be organized enough to fight an organized military at all. It's not going to happen.
Well,
anyway.
Here's the thing, Todd. What you're talking about here is people. I've seen rednecks say this.
Best to
from
beat them
way
at
back
the ballot box. Best to beat them at the ballot box. Become active. Educate yourself on the issues and go vote. Go vote for new good people. Sorry, I interrupted you, John.
It's all right. I think you want to finish that thought.
Yeah.
So no, the thing about it is what you're getting at here is if you're relying on your second A rights, if you're relying on guns to fight tyranny, you've already lost. Because you didn't take the proper steps ahead of time.
It's too late at that point.
You didn't write letters. You didn't go vote. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. And so what makes you think you're going to pull that gun when it's time? Because you're not even prepared. Because you haven't prepared mentally. Because you haven't been engaged already.
Right. And are you sure that this is the person that you need to be fighting? Right. The person who's who has a badge on or has a gun, is that the enemy that you need to go fight? Do you even know this? Do you even know who you're fighting against, really?
So Holden's saying you're channeling Biden's "you need an F-16" speech.
No, well, I mean, no, I'm not channeling Biden at all. I mean, hell, if Americans want an F-16,
I think he's along you with the whole thing that you're basically saying you won't be able to. You're not saying that. You're saying you be prepared because you're not in the ready. But as far as I'm concerned, Biden was trying to poke at people and get something started with that speech.
If it gets to that point, and it's so many morons you hear, in case they go door to door. Well, first off, your government's not going to go door to door. There's too many doors to go door to door to, first off. But if it ever got to that point, there's nothing you could ever do to counter them. That's why you got to defeat them at the ballot box and stop electing the same old people who are controlled by the same pots of money in your state capital or Washington, D.C. People who come with a lot of PAC money and a lot of these big endorsements have already sold you out for the most part. I mean, by and large. If they've been in office, especially in Washington for many, many years, they probably sold you out a long time ago. Time to elect somebody new. There's only so much rebranding one old tired politician can do. When it's up to the voters to say, we've had enough of you. We're gonna move on. We can't be afraid to vote for new people, for crying out loud, because the idea of you having your Second Amendment standing up to an organized military or government coming door to door is not going to happen. They're going to take whatever they want from you, or they'll just simply kill you at that point. There's nothing you're going to be able to do because your neighbor's not going to come fight along beside you. They're looking to survive themselves.
Put that into perspective. What are the strategies they used in the past? So
Franklin
Roosevelt
is the judge of what I'm saying. History is the judge of what I'm saying.
So Franklin Roosevelt said that it was illegal to own gold, right? They decided that they needed the gold and the reserves or whatever. And America, what they do? They collected it from people. People had to surrender their gold, and they did willingly.
Yeah.
Willingly. They didn't think twice about it. They did what the government told them to because of the authorities. What did Hitler do? He outlawed guns. What did Stalin do? He outlawed guns. What did people do? Oh, since you outlaw guns, I guess I better bring them into you now.
Well, you said Hitler. Think about everything that Hitler did. Think about the Holocaust. All that was done legally, right? All of it was legal in Germany. Everything was done perfectly to the letter of the law. I mean, to think about that, they killed millions upon millions of people, and it was all done legally within Germany for sure.
Yeah.
Now, how many people didn't stand up to their government? You know what I'm saying? Because it's just those people over there. Well, it's just this group, and they allowed propaganda to basically dehumanize and millions upon millions of people. The Jewish people. But it's funny is within Germany before they expanded out and invaded Poland and other places, there was only like 100 and some thousand Jews in Germany at that time anyway. So they weren't even remotely the problem in Germany at all. But of course the blame that they got for World War I was far outstripped from any blame that they should ever have suffered through, for sure.
Absolutely.
The people just got on board with the propaganda, no fact checking. That sounds good. Yeah,
So
my lot in life kind of sucks. I don't have a lot of money. I'm trying to make it. How are those people over there successful? And they pointed a few Jewish people who are successful as seeing it. Yeah, look at these Jews over here. They're the ones who are successful. That's why you don't have something. But never mind the fact that there are, millions of people living in poverty who are Jewish as well. They didn't point to them as the example. But how easy propaganda can work against people. And at the same time, how many people aren't going to stand up to their government whenever they decide they want to be tyrannical and send people to the ovens, for crying out loud, or concentration camps? I mean, we did it in our country to Japanese Americans. Now, mind you, we didn't put them in ovens or anything like that. But during World War II, not that long ago, I mean, there's Americans who are alive who had to go to these camps who were essentially no different than, say, a concentration camp, outside of the fact we didn't kill them. Japanese Americans.
Holden brings up a good point here. Let's look what he's saying. Look what happened to the Branch Davidians.
Sure.
I was actually thinking before I read that look what happened to Eamon Bundy. Look what happened to Lavoy Finicum at the Bundy standoff. They had legal rights, and the government was violating these legal rights. Who came to their aid? There was very few people came to raid. I know somebody here lives in New Hampshire, spent about 6 years in federal prison, and he didn't do anything illegal or wrong. He was there and present, but he didn't do anything illegal or wrong. So some people got cherry picked to be arrested and spent time in jail over that, but nobody was coming to their aid. So when you're talking about your right to bear arms and stuff like that, where were you when they were in trouble? Where were you when the feds were coming down on them? The Branch Davidians, sort of in the middle on that one, Holden, because I can't verify and say it's true, but the FBI did show letters saying that they were writing threatening letters about their armaments and their stores and stuff like that, food stores and stuff, and how they could hold off. So they were kind of antagonizing. So when that search warrant was being served, it wasn't being served because their rights were being violated necessarily. I mean, you can't, I'm not going to go poke the bear and the stick in the woods, right? I'm not going to sit there and tell the government I'm all ready for a battle with you and act like I'm going to go up against the government and be an insurrectionist or a rebellion and then expect the best out of the government, right? But if they're going to come to me and violate my rights, it's a whole different story. There is a such thing as color of law. And that's what we're really talking about here, is when the government starts acting under the color of law.
Right.
Then they're violating your rights, and they got no legal right to stand on.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And you think about this, whenever the police shows up to your neighbor down the street, what do people do? They look outside. Oh, I wonder what they did. That's the question they ask. I wonder what they've done. Oh, I bet they did this. And people start to speculate, not knowing anything about what's going on, not knowing if it's a medical emergency or anything like that. People start to speculate. Well, I don't want to be associated with whatever's going on over there. So people will digress. People will start to disengage with you. I mean, you let somebody get a little bit of legal trouble, for crying out loud. And what do people do? Generally, they back away from you. They don't want anything to do with you. They don't want to be associated in anywhere remotely, with whatever you must have done, right? Because I mean, you wouldn't be in court if you didn't do anything wrong, right? I mean, that's the way people look at it. So to think that,
they judge you prematurely, yes.
Oh, absolutely. But if you think people are going to show up with guns to defend you, I mean, that's not going to happen. That law enforcement or that military person who's knocking on your door could easily just kill you within a couple of seconds and move on to the next person. And they resisted or they did X, Y, and Z. Well, I don't want that to happen. So the next person hears, well, if I do this and just go along, I won't get killed. So they'll just go along and voluntarily give up their guns or whatever it is, and your government can just become tyrannical, and you've done nothing because you didn't go and vote to start off with. Anyway.
So, Holden has a point here, and that's why I said the way I said about the letter that the Branch Davidian supposedly sent. I didn't say that it was real. I don't know it's real, but he said the FBI has proven to falsely documents per the 2015 Russian collusion hoax. They did. You're right. Yeah. Absolutely. They made false statements and documents on the Russian collusion, and it took an investigation to make a determination of what really happened. And we know who the perpetrators were now, and they're walking around free, and they shouldn't be. One was the Secretary of State, and to that of a president of the United States. And it's ridiculousness that sort of coup could be going on in the United States and overlooked like it didn't mean anything.
Right. Absolutely. And and people to think that, oh, well, we got to back the men and women in blue. It's like, yeah, you just said it, men and women in blue. people, human beings, not only do they make mistakes, but at the same time, they'll do things that are devious, nefarious, whatever the case may be. They'll commit criminal acts, or they'll falsify information to try to make a case, and that's happened on many, many occasions. So I don't blindly just go along and say, well, we got to back the blue just to back the blue. I back good police, but at the same time, I want to make sure that if they're trying somebody and convicting them, that they're doing it on good evidence and facts, and sound judgment, not made up things, not things that are just that they tip the scale, if you will, or put their thumb on the scale to try to screw somebody or get a conviction, and that happens.
I am of the opinion that law enforcement, the predominant amount of law enforcement, up in the probably high 90-something%, are good people trying to do a good job.
I agree. I'm right there with you.
But there's cases like FBI did an investigation in somewhere in the early 1990s, I think, maybe late 1980s, on the drug cartels involved with the New Orleans Police Department, how the majority of them were compromised. And they thought they could have gotten the whole police department if they could have continued the investigation. That's how bad it was.
Right.
So not every law enforcement officer, and it could be the whole city of law enforcement could be bad. You
Very
never
possible.
know.
Very possible.
But
and whenever there's a lot of money involved, especially if you don't make a lot of money, and it's easy money to look the other way on something, or maybe I don't rouse this guy over here, but I rouse this other person down the street. I can do that. I'm still doing police work, but I'm looking the other way on a few things here and there, and money can compromise somebody very quickly.
So getting back to the gun rights thing you were talking about, and the and concerns about, I got my guns, I got my rights. And the thing about it is getting organized with that, right? So there's a gentleman by the Sheriff Mack. I'm trying to think of his first name and I can't, but he's I want to say Arizona, but I'm not sure. But he runs man, if I can think, constitutional officers, peace, constitutional.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So but he has a good idea, with the constitutional sheriffs and stuff. But the thing about it is, sheriffs aren't all encompassing in power, like a lot of people want to say.
Right.
But if you had a constitutional sheriff and you were, as a community, I got my guns, I got my rights, working with that sheriff, and you were in cases of violation of law, where the authorities operating under color of law, you would be able to deter a lot of this.
Sure.
Almost basically like a legalized militia, right?
Yeah.
Paramilitary or something like that, where you're not being threatening to society. You're not trying to, this isn't some kind of rebellion. You're just working. You get more lawyers involved. What I'm getting at here is you got to be organized in this stuff.
Right.
You can't just be willy-nilly, I got my guns and my rights. All that is a war cry where you're going to cower down because you're all alone standing there with your rifles in your hand.
Right.
And they're demanding them, and you're just going to give them up because there's nobody backing your play. Like Eamon Bundy.
Right. It's like you also have to think about joining organizations that support. Like we had Tennessee Firearms Association founder on recently. Joining organizations like that. I'm not going to try to vouch for the NRA. It's Gun Owners of America. We've had them on.
Yes.
GOA. Joining groups like that. There's strength in numbers. What are they doing? They're watching your legislative body, your executive body, and how they're passing laws or enforcing things, and they're raising the alarm. But you have to also at the same time be active politically and things like that. But at the same time, whenever they raise the alarm to say, hey, call your elected official, you're doing so, say, hey, we don't want this enacted. Most people won't call or send an email or do anything like that. It's easier to just say, somebody else will do it. Or,
I think what we're lacking, Todd, is we're lacking communities of people that are involved. We're not developing local communities.
Civic-minded people.
That's where our issues are. And I see people attempting to do it, and they stand alone doing it. I watch them struggle with it. And because people just don't want to get involved. I don't know why they don't want to get involved. Listen, guys, you got to make this your fun. You got to make this your source of entertainment. Forget the television. The television is doing nothing but brainwashing you anyway. Forget Hollywood. Hollywood's been lying to you for years, trying to tell you how to be. Forget some of these politicians out there because they're railroading you. They're selling out to the corporations at a rate of probably 80% of everything they vote on isn't for your greater interest. It's for the interest of corporations and big business, where politicians are invested wisely. And they're going to make bank, and they're never going to turn on them for you and your sake and your freedoms, your liberties, or what's best for you financially, because they are making money off the stocks in which they are invested.
Right. When you think about the ones who are traditionally made out to be kooks, if you will, and run out of office, are the people who talk about the Constitution. What about the Constitution? Like Thomas Massey as an example, he talks
Mhm.
about the Constitution quite regular, and he's even called out, say, the Trump administration on different things, rightly so, and he says, well, what about the Constitution in this matter? And how many people, we'll say that are on the right, if you will, that'll attack Thomas Massey and be like, well, you need to get with the program, support Trump. He's like, no, you need to support the Constitution first and foremost, and everybody should be about the Constitution, not about one man or one presidential administration. The Constitution should be the first thing, first and foremost, and we should be calling out our elected officials who we support whenever they're wrong. If not, we're doing ourselves an injustice.
So you read about the Constitution. See, I'll sit here and tell you the Constitution is sacred. And a lot of people go, "What do you mean sacred? That's referring to religion and God and things like that." And I'm like, but the Constitution is built to protect natural men under natural law. It's sacred. Right. And if you don't take it as a sacred document, you're going to watch them corrupt it. It's the same thing as if somebody's going to corrupt God or trash your Bible, right? Are you going to stand for that? They've been doing it, and a lot of people have been standing for it, but there's a lot of people out there going, no more. I've had it. Well, the Constitution's the same way. Don't let them corrupt it. And that's what they're trying to do constantly. They pass laws that violate the U.S. Constitution. SCOTUS overrules those laws, but they still remain on the books.
Yep, absolutely. And you're talking about people when it comes to religion, for example, it's like, well, which Bible are you reading from? And most of the people in America will say, well, I'm the King James Version. And I'm like, that first off, that was an English and Scottish king. He was dual-hatted, dual crowned. He was a Scottish king and the English king at the same time. This was before the crowns became in union. Different story. But he created that Bible because this is what he wanted in it. And now we're saying the King James Version is like the ultimate Bible. And it's like, no, that's an edited version of the Bible, for crying out loud. Most Bibles that we use in the United States are edited versions anyway. So it's like, are you getting the right information or are you getting selected information? The Constitution is no different. If we're not careful, the government's going to give us information from the quote unquote Constitution the way that they want it to read. That's why we have to hold their feet to the fire, for crying out loud. If not, you're going to get things that they're going to say is constitutional when in reality it's not, because we don't understand our rights.
Oh, I'll promise you, there are U.S. senators and there are U.S. representatives sitting there on the Hill in Washington, D.C. And you go in there and tell them about, well, we do have constitutional rights and you're trying to pass law. They'll roll their eyes. They don't want to hear it. Right. And I've spoken to some that's the attitude. Like on the phone, you don't see them rolling their eyes, but that's the attitude, like the scoff. Like, you're making a big deal out of nothing. No, I'm not. It's the U.S. Constitution. Wake up, bro. It governs you. You're a U.S. senator, for Christ's sake. Do something you're supposed to do. Stop violating your own laws.
But if you talk about the Constitution, standing up for the Constitution, who doesn't have, a PAC money or attorneys or a big agenda behind them? It's the Constitution doesn't have that, right? But big companies and big corporations and big agendas, they have money behind them. And that's what most elected officials tend to agree with, is who's giving the money, Now, some of the legislation that they pass may benefit Americans, and they'll have the talking points to tell you how this piece of legislation benefits Americans. But they won't tell you the 130 things that benefit the big corporation that they just took the money from, though.
So it's the hidden agenda is what
you got saying. A residual benefit from it. Good for you.
Yeah.
And they'll spin it as if it's the best thing in the world.
Yeah, the hidden agenda. They put it out there like it's all for you, but when you crack it open and look into it, it's like, well, wait a minute. Actually, this is going to cost me. It's sort of like
most people will not do that. Most people will not do that.
What does quantitative easing amount to? Your 401k, your IRA just went to cover the national debt. So you're paying into a 401k, which is covering the national debt. You're getting back maybe 4% interest off it. But because of the inflation, because of the national debt, you might be up to somewhere around 15% loss. So basically you're losing 9% at the end of the day. You're not gaining anything now off your retirement. They basically just stripped it of you. They robbed it of you, and everybody's cheering it on, right?
Sure.
I mean, come on, man.
But you get into the weeds with stuff like that, and most people would just gloss over. And you go to a political event and try to talk about debt and deficit, and those words almost sound the same, and people would just gloss over. And sometimes you have to explain the difference to people. And it's like at that point, it's like, oh man, you're too deep. But anyway, we'll be back next week at 7 o'clock. If it's Wednesday night, it's Common Sense Conservatives right here on 1590 AM and 95.3 FM. Till next week, God bless. Take care. We'll see you then.